Akane Nishino, the beautiful heiress of a wealthy family, is not only blessed with a stunning appearance, but also boasts an impressive academic record. Each day, the moment she steps out of her luxury car, she becomes the center of attention at school, a star among her peers greeted with respect and admiration by everyone around her. Yet there's one person who seems utterly unfazed. Enter Shit Kageno, a young man who hardly acknowledges Nishino's existence. Described by Nishino, he's just an average guy, lacking athletic prowess, poor in academics, and with a memory that falters at the simplest of names. Despite Nishino reminding him of her name several times, he hilariously butchers it into Nishimura, leaving her exasperated. And, as if that wasn't enough, he manages to muddle it into Nishitani, leaving Nishino speechless. While her classmates shower her with questions about her acting career, Kageno remains indifferent, focusing instead on building his arm muscles in silence. To the outside world, Nishino seems to lead a charmed life, yet they remain oblivious to the shadows of her past, a scandal during middle school that forced her to step away from the limelight. Ever since she has donned a mask of perfection, striving to be the ideal student, hoping to win the affection of her teachers and classmates. Deep down, she fears any hint of dislike or resentment directed at her. As time drifts by, Nishino feels the weight of her struggles. Meanwhile, Kageno can only play a melancholic tune for her fate. That fateful evening after school, Nishino tries to call her butler, only to find he isn't answering. Little did she know he had been ambushed by thugs who had no mercy. Kageno, sensing the impending danger, quietly followed her since the troubles of their middle school days, and now for the first time Nishino walks home alone. Every rustle of leaves sends shivers down her spine, and she never imagined that the sound that echoed behind her belonged to the very thug who had assaulted her butler. Despite her instinct to flee, another goon blocks her path, stepping out of a car, with a menacing grin, armed with a cloth soaked in a sedative. Nishino struggles, but as she succumbs to darkness, she catches a glimpse of Kageno watching her from a distance. When Nishino awakens, she finds herself bound in a dilapidated house with the two thugs looming over her like sharks circling their prey. Their intention, to hold her for ransom, leveraging her father's position as the head of a corporation against him. It appears her father has made a few enemies, and now they seek to exploit that vulnerability. Bickering like cats and dogs, the thugs reveal their incompetence. Meanwhile, Kageno, having grasped the situation, readies himself for action. Inside, one of the thugs, in a fit of frustration, decides to force himself on Nishino, disregarding her protests. But just as he lunges forward, he's startled by the sight of Kageno descending from the roof like a guardian angel. With a powerful kick, Kageno shatters the ceiling and lands in the room like a thunderbolt, declaring himself the avenger of those wronged. The thug, thinking Kageno is merely a foolish show-off, pulls out a weapon. Yet his movements are slow and clumsy, and in an instant, Kageno dispatches him effortlessly, leaving the other thug in shock. With swift precision, Kageno demonstrates that he's not just some ordinary guy, he's a force to be reckoned with. The remaining thug realizes he's bitten off more than he can chew. The tension in the air thickens, as Nishino watches hope flickering to life within her heart. Could Kageno be her unexpected hero? He tossed away his weapon, proudly revealing to X that he had once been a formidable soldier. Since leaving the military, he felt a dullness in life, yearning for a worthy opponent. Hearing this, X's heart raced. He too longed to test his mettle against a soldier. Initially, X underestimated his opponent, leading to a painful stab that made him bleed, unaware that he had a legendary nickname, the God of the Crowbar. Though a crowbar seemed like a simple tool in the hands of Shit, it transformed into a deadly weapon. When the soldier realized he couldn't match a Shit's weapon prowess, he switched to brute force, throwing punches his way. Shit knew he couldn't compete physically with a former soldier, so he decided to up his game. He hurled the crowbar forward, flipping it to change his grip, and landed a devastating blow. Unbeknownst to his opponent, Shit had been honing his skills with the crowbar every night, practicing by taking on street racers who now wore helmets. Should he strike them in the head, they would likely emerge unscathed. With this training, Shit had unraveled the crowbar's true power, and when wielding it, he felt invincible even against a former soldier. In no time, he had defeated him, leaving Nishino in shock. After reclaiming the crowbar, Shit rushed to Nishino to untie her. However, his knife-wielding stance made her fear he might harm her. After freeing her, he reminded her to be careful on her way home. Despite dispatching two foes effortlessly, Shit felt an unquenched thirst for strength, aspiring to reach the pinnacle of power as a true Dark Lord. Shortly after, Nishino's father arrived at the scene, ensuring the incident remained a secret, leaving Nishino unaware of the identity of her savior. The next morning, Nishino arrived at school with her usual cheerful demeanor, unfazed by Shit's usual bland expression, which she had grown accustomed to. But today, Shit locked eyes with her and called out her name, catching her off guard. She longed to understand this sudden shift in him, but before she could investigate further, news broke that Shit had been struck by a truck and had died. Since childhood, Shit had admired heroes lurking in the shadows. For most kids, it was a fleeting desire, but for him, it was a burning passion that never faded. At school, he was just another harmless bystander, but deep within he strived to grow stronger. One day, Shit realized that continuing to train without purpose was futile. Martial arts would be useless against bullets, and even the strongest fighter would be powerless against a nuclear missile. Every human has their limits, and Shit yearned to transcend those boundaries. After his death, he manifested this desire. He was reincarnated into a completely new world filled with magic and sorcery. Here Shit became the leader of an organization called Shadow Garden, composed of many girls who believed in him, despite much of what he said being pure fabrication. In this realm, Shit was determined to gain strength and was willing to sacrifice everything to become a figure of overwhelming power, a Dark Lord that the world would fear. Back when Shit was transitioning from his old life, he assumed his journey to become a Dark Lord would end. But as he opened his eyes, he found himself reborn as a child in the arms of his parents, who wondered why their son wasn't crying. So Shit let out a wail to ease their minds. In that moment, he realized he had reincarnated into a world overflowing with magic, and with this newfound power, he was confident he would soon become the Dark Lord he aspired to be. While envisioning his bright future, his family gazed at him as if he were a strange creature. Unbeknownst to them, the child's body had betrayed him, causing him to soil his pants. Shit was born into a rural family of the Namti clan. Although he was the only son, it was his sister Xiao who was expected to inherit the family legacy overshadowing Shit's existence. However, he merely feigned weakness. By night, he unleashed his true strength. With a few swift moves, he sent many bandits to their graves. His slim armor allowed Shit to transform into any weapon, leaving the bandits helpless against his onslaught. One bandit attempted to bite him, but Shit quickly parried his sword. Even if the bandit managed to land a hit, Shit's armor would guard him from harm. Afterward, he eliminated the last bandit to avenge the merchants who had perished and claimed their riches for himself, assuring them to rest in peace. While checking the loot, Shit discovered a creature imprisoned in a cage. Despite its decaying state, it radiated a peculiar burst of magic that piqued his curiosity. He decided to free this wretched being, taking it home for further study. Through numerous experiments, he managed to harness the unleashed magic, and the putrid creature transformed into a stunning young woman. To impress her on their first encounter, Shit presented himself as the one who had lifted the corrosive curse from her body. He explained that the origin of the curse stemmed from the legend of 3 heroes who defeated the demon god Diablos. Before dying, the demon god had cast a curse upon the descendants of those heroes, turning her into a grotesque creature. As for the ones who spread this curse, Shit revealed they were the Diablos cult who sought to resurrect the demon god. It was now his mission to thwart them. Returning with the slim armor gifted by his grandparents, she became a living arsenal, able to transform into any weapon at will. The bandits stood frozen, caught in a storm they never saw coming. One desperate thief tried to sneak a bite, but Shit instantly blocked his blade. Even if the thief managed to land a hit, the slim armor absorbed it, leaving him unharmed. Without hesitation, he eliminated the last bandit to avenge the merchants. The merchants, robbed and slaughtered, could only watch as Xi claimed their stolen goods, promising peace of mind in their final moments. While inspecting the spoils, Shit discovered a creature locked in a cage. Its body was rotting, but an intense wild magic radiated from it. Intrigued beyond measure, Shit decided to free this mysterious lump of flesh. Bringing the creature home for study, Shit delved into the secrets of magic flow. After countless experiments, he mastered control over the violent magic surging within. The once rotting mass transformed back into a stunningly beautiful girl. To break the ice, Shit struck a cool pose, claiming he had lifted the corrosive curse that plagued her. This curse, he explained, dated back to the legend of 3 heroes who defeated the demon god Diablos. Before dying, Diablos cursed their descendants, turning the girl into the decaying husk she once was. The ones who unleashed this curse were the Diablos cult, who now harbored dark ambitions to resurrect the demon god. Shit's mission to stop them at all costs. Introducing himself as Sadu, a shadow walker and the hunter of darkness, Shit asked if she would join him in destroying the cult. Though the tale seemed fabricated, she believed it wholeheartedly. She confessed that, since being cursed, she lost everything, but thanks to Shit's salvation, she pledged her life to help him complete this mission. Moved by her resolve, Shit crafted a slim armor suit for her and named her Alpha, officially recruiting her into Shadow Garden, the secret organization he founded. 3 years passed, and Shit, now a 13-year-old magic swordsman, trained daily under his sister Clay's guidance. His swordplay blended martial arts from a past life, weaving lethal strikes that ended foes with grace. Yet Shit preferred to fade into the background, hiding his true strength like a shadow. Clay, now 15, was preparing to enter the capital's academy. But on the day of her enrollment, panic erupted. Clay vanished without a trace. Despite a full house, her father couldn't fathom how anyone dared invade their home to snatch his daughter. Meanwhile, his domineering wife knocked him senseless, frustrated by his helplessness. In the years since, Alpha had recruited many new members into Shadow Garden. One of them, Beta, informed Shit that the team was already on the move to rescue Clay. To Shit's shock, the kidnapper was none other than the Diablos cult he had warned about, even though Alpha's group had reached their enemy's lair. Meanwhile, Clay found herself imprisoned, bound by a magical chain that sealed her powers. Yet she still possessed enough strength to evade a kick from her captor. She expressed gratitude for the lessons learned from her brother, which helped her wield her magic effectively. The abductor, realizing every time Clay exhibited signs of being possessed, Shit had always come to her aid, devised a plan to capture Shit for interrogation. Upon hearing that her brother might be in danger, Clay's anger ignited. She swiftly broke free from her chains and vowed to annihilate his entire lineage if they dared to harm Shit. Before she could finish her threat, he struck her in the face. Just then, one of his subordinates reported an intruder. The group of 7 girls had breached the stronghold, eliminating all the guards outside. The leader bolted outside, only to find his comrades sprawled lifeless on the ground. Alpha declared that she and the Shadow Garden would eradicate the Diablos cult once and for all. The leader was thrown into a panic, fearing the cult's secrets were now exposed. He drew his sword and charged at Alpha, demanding to know how she discovered the truth about the cult. After a brief exchange, he found himself struck by Alpha's blade. Realizing he couldn't best her in combat, he pulled out a vial of potion and downed it, boosting his power exponentially. He began to hold his own against Alpha, but as he realized he was surrounded, self-preservation kicked in and he attempted to flee. Alpha, however, made no move to chase him, fully aware Shit was waiting for him below. Terrified that their secrets were exposed, the cult leader charged with sword in hand, demanding Alpha reveal how she knew of their existence. After a tense exchange, Alpha slashed him with a precise strike. Realizing he couldn't match her, he swallowed a mysterious pill, doubling his power and turning the fight into a deadly dance of equals. Alpha, realizing he was surrounded, struggled fiercely just to keep his life. Alpha didn't bother chasing him, knowing his master waited below. Actually, she was just looking for a place to relieve himself, but somehow that guy ran right into him. Seeing she alone, he instantly grabbed his sword and charged. Even though he'd taken medicine earlier, his thrust was blocked by Zeet. No matter how wildly he swung his sword, Zeet deftly dodged every strike. Then she unleashed a flurry of sword slashes, leaving the attacker more wounded, slumping down in defeat. He began rambling about a painful past, but seeing She's indifference, he gulped down all his medicine, ready to go all out. The guy attacked She with wild desperation, but couldn't land a single hit. Finding the guy's crazed antics annoying, She decided to end it swiftly. He unleashed a terrifying surge of magic power, showing the vast gap in their levels. Finally, with one decisive slash, he sent the attacker to his ancestors. A necklace with a photo of the attacker's daughter fell out. She quietly pocketed it and left without a word. Just as the chains were removed, Elle returned home with a scowl, though his wounds healed quickly. Without delay, she set off for the capital. She believed the capital would be the perfect playground for him to unleash his power, but he had to wait 2 years before going. So for now, hanging out with the Alpha group at home would have to do. But that afternoon, the 7 girls said goodbye and left, leaving she bewildered, clueless about what was happening. 2 years later, he finally understood why they had left. Plus was a massive global cult, forcing them to scatter worldwide in pursuit. They were grown now, craving freedom, leaving behind childish games. Only she remained chasing his dream of becoming the Dark Lord. His thirst for magic grew so fierce, it drove him into the street, straight into the path of an oncoming truck. Now 15, she enrolled in the capital's Royal Academy, just like his sister. The Royal Academy was prestigious, but in this medieval society, class divisions ran deep. Commoners like she were stuck in shabby dorms, just like his 2 best friends, Hyogo and Yaga. Yesterday, the 3 had a crazy bet. Whoever ranked lowest on the test had to confess to their school crush and get rejected. Being a commoner, she didn't care much. His target was Princess Alexia, who always rejected nobles' advances. She was determined to make a bold, commoner-style confession to prove a point to his friends, no time to wait. That same day, facing Princess Alexia, she stammered nervously, trembling like a leaf, barely managing to say, "I like you. Please, go out with me." He braced for a humiliating rejection, but to his shock, Alexia took his hand and whispered, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." This miraculous confession turned she from nobody to the unlikely hero of a romantic comedy. From that day on, she became the sworn enemy of every boy at the academy. A commoner dating the princess, impossible even Xiao, was baffled, suspecting Alexia had some hidden scheme. Just then, Alexia appeared, asking to sit with she and sharing noble delicacies. Jealousy filled the room. She played the foolish, gluttonous country boy to get her to reject him, but only made her want him more. Alexia even invited she to sword practice that afternoon, leaving him bewildered. Normally, stuck in the lowest class, she was suddenly promoted to train alongside her. Their instructor Zenon, a national-level swordsman, introduced the Bushin style flourishing in the capital. Once scorned, the style gained respect thanks to Alexia's sister, Princess Iris. Class pairs formed for practice. She noticed Alexia's swordplay was simple and slow, with little magic and poor accuracy. Compared to her sister Iris, she was clearly weaker, but her effort was relentless. At day's end, Alexia surprised she by announcing she'd decided to date him. He learned she was betrothed to Zenon, but despised him, using she as a pawn to make Zenon give up. Alexia assured she it was a mutually beneficial arrangement, but warned him to play along carefully. She refused, so Alexia pulled another trick, producing a gold coin and flicking it in front of him. She pretended to disdain money, but the coin's allure was too strong. He couldn't resist. Even Sao turned into a greedy pup chasing Alexia's coins. The capital city initially shunned Bushin fiercely. However, thanks to the voice of Princess Alexia, Iris helped Bushin become a recognized swordsmanship school. As the class began pairing up for sword practice, SH noticed that Alexia's swordplay was rather monotonous and her movements were slow. Her mana usage was minimal, leading to less accuracy in her attacks. If compared to her sister Iris, the world would undoubtedly rate Alexia as inferior. Yet despite all this, Alexia's swordsmanship was a testament to her relentless effort and dedication over time. At the end of the practice, Alexia announced to teacher Zenon that she had decided to date SH. This was when SH learned that the princess was arranged to have a marriage pact with Zenon, a man she didn't care for. So she had turned SH into a shield. Alexia admitted that she chose a low-ranking noble like SH just to make Zenon give up, but she reassured SH not to worry, as this was a mutually beneficial arrangement. It turned out Alexia had thoroughly questioned SH's 2 friends and learned about the punishment he faced, which prompted him to confess his feelings for her. The way SH toyed with Alexia's heart was bound to bring him trouble at the academy, so she advised him to play the role of her boyfriend obediently. However, SH refused, prompting Alexia to resort to another tactic. She took out a gold coin and flicked it in front of him, causing his eyes to widen in surprise. He should have, so Alexia transformed Shit into a human shield. She even admitted choosing a low-ranking noble like Shit was just to make Zenon give up. But she told Shit not to worry, this was a relationship of mutual benefit. It turned out Alexia had carefully questioned Shit's two friends and learned about his punishment, which is why she confessed to him. Playing with Alexia's heart so openly, Shit certainly wouldn't find peace living at the academy, so she advised him to obediently play the role of her lover. However, Shit refused, forcing Alexia to try another trick. She pulled out a gold coin and flicked it before Shit's eyes, making the young man's eyes widen. At first, Shit pretended to be proud and above money, but the golden coin's allure was too strong to resist. He even shamelessly turned into a puppy, snapping up a second coin from Alexia. Because his allowance was never enough, Shit fell into the seductive magic of money. Meanwhile, Alexia was delighted she had tamed a dog that actually obeyed. Thus, their love affair with the princess continued, even though the whole academy saw Shit as nothing more than a gutter rat swimming in the ocean. But Zenon always stayed calm, watching quietly, which infuriated Alexia greatly. As for Alexia, she always had to keep up her princess image in public, but when she was with Shit, she mercilessly insulted Zenon. That evening, the two went on another date, a public display of their relationship. While eating ice cream, Alexia spilled everything about Zenon to Shit. She said Zenon was all style and no substance, just a facade. Yet despite Shit's many flaws, she didn't hate him at all. This time, Shit showed sympathy, making Alexia very pleased, so the reward for her obedient puppy today was another gold coin, causing Shit to bark joyfully. After many training sessions with Shit, Alexia became curious about his sword style. The moves looked simple, but were incredibly captivating. She confided that she wanted to become strong enough to catch up with her sister Iris. Yet her swordsmanship was always considered ordinary, unable to compare to a genius like Iris. Hearing this, Shit encouraged Alexia not to be discouraged, saying he really liked her sword style. This comment made Alexia quite annoyed, because Iris once told her the same thing after a crushing defeat, making Alexia feel weak and grow to resent her own swordsmanship. Yet Shit insisted that no matter if the world crumbled, he had to speak the truth. He admired her sword skills. Hearing this, Alexia flared up, pointing her blade right at Shit's face. But the stubborn young man stood firm, silent and resigned. Alexia quietly left with a farewell that made Shit think their fake romance was over. Friends, unaware of Shit's real situation, still believed he and the princess were sweethearts. Just as the three arrived at the school gate, they were suddenly blocked by Zenon and his gang. Zenon announced Alexia had gone missing since last night's date with Shit. Since Shit was the last to see the princess, he was to be detained for investigation. While his friends panicked, Shit stayed calm, silently acknowledging this mess was seriously bad news. Meanwhile, Alexia woke up bound by chains that sealed her magical power. Though clueless where Shit was, she knew she had to survive first. Beside her stood a grotesquely deformed figure, a terrifying sight. Her captor was a mad doctor from the Diablo's order, armed with medical tools to draw Alexia's blood for some sinister scheme. When she asked, he boasted that royal blood could resurrect the demon god Diablos. Back with Shit, Zenon's henchmen were torturing him mercilessly, accusing him of kidnapping the princess. Shit's cries of pain were almost theatrical, a desperate plea for mercy to satisfy his tormentors. Though not truly hurting much, he played the part of the suffering extra perfectly. Meanwhile, the mad doctor drained a large amount of Alexia's blood, prompting her warning, if she died, there'd be no more blood to harvest. The doctor, lost in his madness, suddenly ranted nonsensically before turning to beat the deformed captive next door. Seeing the poor soul's suffering, Alexia urged the doctor to return to his task of collecting blood, and he did. He even fed her a bowl of porridge to keep her strength up. Zenon sent the investigation report on Alexia to Iris, saying the knights had interrogated Shit for 5 days with no results. Iris ordered Shit's release, but assigned watchers to follow him. Though Iris didn't want to doubt Shit, she had to be cautious. Meanwhile, Iris herself was mobilizing people to search desperately for Alexia. The search for his sister was urgent. Zenon had to help Iris restore order within the academy. Shit's fierce older sister was burning with rage upon learning her little brother had been captured by the Knight's order. Though she wanted to rush out and save, Shit Zenon had already decreed that no one was allowed to leave the academy. Watching Clay's fierce devotion to her brother Iris was reminded of a past when a single duel was enough for the siblings to understand each other deeply. But somewhere along the way that bond had frayed and the two had grown distant. Alexia seemed drained of life after days under the mad doctor's blood extraction. Meanwhile, Shit had been freed by the Knight's order wearing only his shorts. His wounds would heal quickly with Zit's treatment, so he wasn't worried except for the knights Zenon had sent to tail him relentlessly. Suddenly, a mysterious woman appeared and swiftly eliminated those tailing him. It was Alpha someone Shit hadn't seen in ages. She returned because Beta had sent word. Alpha revealed Shadow Garden had grown into a formidable force ready to wipe out the Diablo's order to its roots soon. Seeing Shit's chaotic living space, Alpha sighed and noticing he lacked the energy even to change clothes helped him undress. Through her investigation, Alpha learned Princess Alexia Shit's supposed lover was still alive. Shit quickly clarified he had no feelings for her. After reporting, Alpha changed clothes and set off on her mission, reminding her boss to treat her to a big meal once this mission ended. Alpha also informed Beta had arrived and was eager to meet Shit. Alexia's eyes had turned hollow from her days in captivity. Upon freedom, Shit proudly displayed his treasured loot relics from his raids on bandits and his tough disguise missions, each piece cherished deeply. Shit promised himself he'd make tonight's Shadow Garden debut truly unforgettable. As the lights in the room dimmed, Beta appeared admiring her boss seated regally on a golden chair sipping wine. She reported 114 operatives had gathered in the royal city. Shit showed displeasure and Beta apologized for the small number, but he was actually puzzled where she recruited such a huge force. Beta explained Alpha and Gamma would command while Denta would lead the vanguard to signal the attack on the Diablo's order. But Shit preferred to make the opening act himself confident tonight the world would finally know Shadow Garden's name. Just as he stepped into the city streets, Shit encountered two thugs who had tortured him earlier. They threw Alexia's shoe at him, framing him as the mastermind behind the princess's kidnapping. Before they could act further, the bodies of their fallen comrades dropped before their eyes. While these two thugs stood dumbfounded, Shit ended the first one's life on the spot. The second tried to threaten him, but was swiftly sent off to sell salt. Witnessing the scene, Beta pulled out her pen to write a novel about her boss's badassery. Meanwhile, Zit looked toward Denta, knowing his bloodthirsty little sister was busy slaughtering the enemy. The Knight's order reported the chaos unfolding in the royal city to Iris, who prepared to investigate and search for Alexia's sister. Alexia woke abruptly to the violent clashes outside. The Mad Doctor was eager to join the fight, pumping all of Alexia's blood into a transformed being. When the last vial was injected, the creature's power surged and it grew monstrously large. Seeing the Doctor perish at the beast's hands, Alexia feared her own end. Yet the creature retained enough consciousness to break her chains and free Alexia. As the giant rampaged outside, Alexia found the key on the Mad Doctor and escaped her cell. But just as she emerged, she collided with Zenon, who was furious to learn he was both the prison master and mastermind behind her kidnapping. Zenon declared that obtaining research on Alexia's blood would secure him a seat at the Diablo's Order's 12 Knights Round Table. Alexia scoffed, calling it a 12-man insanity club instead. Now aware of the truth, she charged at Zenon for a bloody duel. Initially dismissive, Zenon was caught off guard when Alexia struck him in the throat. Seeing her strength, he decided to display some elite swordsmanship from the 12 Knights. In a flash, he knocked Alexia's sword away and punched her cheek. Zenon believed he could force her back into captivity, but at that moment, Shit emerged from the shadows. Both were surprised as Shit introduced himself as Sado, a shadow lurking to hunt darkness itself. Zenon recognized Sado as the recent saboteur of his order's bases and sought to kill him to earn his first glory among the Round Table. Without hesitation, Zenon lunged at Zit with a sword strike, but Zit swiftly teleported behind Alexia, leaving Zenon stunned and speechless, almost demanding to know where the Order's main force was. Meanwhile, the colossal monster had broken free, overwhelming the knights who could barely hold their ground. Despite their relentless attacks, the creature rapidly regenerated. As the knights were pushed back, Iris sprang into action, leaping onto the beast's head and driving her sword deep into its shoulder. She urgently ordered the wounded to evacuate. The monster seemed unfazed, forcing Iris to infuse her blade with more magic. Even after a magic-charged genius strike, the beast healed instantly. Determined, Iris vowed to slash it into pieces until it could no longer recover. As she fought fiercely, Alpha appeared advising that prolonging the fight would only deepen the monster's suffering. Instead, Alpha suggested ending it with a single, decisive blow. Sadhu had recently dismantled several of his organization's bases, so he aimed to eliminate Sadhu and claimed that as his first achievement upon joining the Round Table. Just as he finished speaking, he charged at SH with a thrust of his sword, but SH had quick reflexes, dodging towards Alexia, leaving Sadhu bewildered. He almost asked where the main force of the organization was located. A colossal monster broke free, overwhelming the Knights of the Round. No matter how fiercely they attacked, the beast's recovery was astonishingly swift. As the knights were pushed back, it fell to Iris to take action. She leaped onto the monster's head, delivering a powerful slash to its shoulder. "Get the wounded out of here now!" she shouted, noticing the monster's relentless strength. Realizing the creature showed no signs of slowing down, Iris infused her sword with more magical energy. Yet after landing a devastating blow filled with potent mana, the monster still began to mend itself. Iris was determined to chop it into pieces until it could no longer heal. But just as she was swinging her sword with fervor, Alpha appeared, advising her that such actions would only prolong the creature's suffering. "Instead, defeat it with a single strike," Alpha suggested. With that, she soared into the air, summoning a massive sword infused with tremendous mana. The decisive blow from Alpha obliterated the monster's inner strength, reverting it back to its original form, a pitiful girl. To Iris's shock, she realized this girl was the daughter of the man slain by Shadow Garden 2 years ago. Witnessing Alpha's overwhelming power, Iris couldn't help but ask who she was. Alpha simply urged Iris to watch from the sidelines and not interfere with Shadow Garden's actions. Though Iris was eager to learn more about Shadow Garden, she had to rescue her sister Alexia first. Meanwhile, Shit effortlessly handled Zenon using nothing but basic sword techniques, leaving Zenon unable to land a single hit. Even as Zenon tried to amplify his mana, Shit effortlessly parried his attacks, eventually sending Zenon sprawling into the ground. "Is this all the Knights of the Round can muster?" Shit taunted, leaving Zenon feeling humiliated, as he gripped his sword, vowing to fight with all his might. Watching Shit in action, Alexia felt a mix of admiration and envy. Here was a remarkable swordsmanship crafted by someone seemingly ordinary. Alexia had once believed she could never surpass her sister Iris, who was exceptionally talented, but now witnessing Shit's display of skill against Zenon, she regained her confidence, realizing this was the swordplay she had always dreamed of mastering. This was no ordinary swordsmanship. It was an extraordinary art born from someone once so unremarkable. Alexia had once believed she could never surpass her sister Iris, who was incredibly talented. But now, witnessing Shit's flawless swordplay that defeated Zenon, a spark of hope reignited within her. She realized this was the very sword style she had dreamed of mastering. Zenon had no chance against Shit anymore. Desperate, Zenon demanded to know who Shit really was and how he could be so powerful. Without hesitation, Shit revealed the truth. He had founded the shadowy organization known as Shadow Garden, a group of outcasts who hunt the darkness itself. Alexia was puzzled, unable to grasp what Shadow Garden or the Diabolus Order truly were. Meanwhile, Zenon pulled out a vial of magical power serum given to him by the Order. Zenon swallowed several pills, his body transforming with overwhelming power. With this so-called ultimate strength, he was confident he could defeat Shit and bring glory to the Round Table. But Shit saw only the grotesque image of a man twisted by power low level, yet claiming to be supreme, an insult to true supremacy. Shit abandoned his sword and unleashed a barrage of punches on Zenon's ugly face. Then Shit decided it was time to teach Zenon what real supremacy meant. He radiated an immense magical aura that engulfed the entire space. Shit confessed he had once challenged a nuclear bomb, having trained tirelessly to reach the pinnacle of his craft. Now, he was determined to make Zenon engrave this true power deep into his soul. Iris rushed to the explosion site, desperately searching for her sister Alexia. Though Shit's slash was akin to a nuclear bomb, Alexia remained unharmed. Picking up her sword, Alexia practiced diligently, hoping to one day become as strong as Shit. Just then, Iris arrived, filled with joy upon seeing her sister alive. From that moment, the bond between the two sisters would be mended as they returned to the academy. Alexia reminisced about Shit's words, how he admired her swordsmanship. With that memory, she found a newfound love for her own style, and shyly expressed her late gratitude to Shit. With Zenon now gone, Alexia wished to continue their pretend dating relationship. However, Shit immediately declined, causing Alexia to flash a dangerously charming smile. As a result, blood splattered everywhere behind the school. The unveiling of Shadow Garden had exceeded all expectations, and whenever the girls recalled Shit's techniques, they fell deeper under his spell. Meanwhile, Jetta and Ita were off on their own separate missions, while in the capital, imposters posing as Shadow Garden members had begun to emerge. Back at the academy, Alexia and Shit reviewed the recent events. Alexia's mind lingered on Shit's words that he admired her sword style. Remembering this, she finally began to appreciate her own path with the sword. Bashfully, she offered a late but heartfelt thanks to Shit. With Zenon gone, Alexia wished to continue their pretend relationship, but Shit immediately refused, causing Alexia to smile with a dangerous glint. The result? Shit's blood sprayed across the back of the school. The debut of Shadow Garden had exceeded all expectations. Every time the girls recalled Shit's moves, their admiration deepened. Meanwhile, Jetta and Ita handled separate missions abroad, while new imposters pretending to be Shadow Garden began causing chaos in the capital. These imposters always left behind a chilling note: Shadow's death sentence. After the recent events, Iris lost faith in the knights as Zenon, the man she trusted, was revealed as a pawn of the Diabolus Order. Now, Iris aimed to form a new investigation team composed of people she truly trusted. Their mission was to uncover the secrets behind the only clue left at Diabolus Base. A pink-haired girl was carrying a pile of books back to her room when she suddenly bumped into Shit. Despite just having been beaten by Alexia, Shit asked if she was all right. Their encounter felt like a scene straight out of a romantic drama. Meanwhile, the Shadow Garden imposters continued their crimes throughout the capital, always leaving behind a sinister note marking their deadly verdict. Shadow Garden had just spilled the beans. Shit had already told his buddies he broke up with Princess Alexia. Can you believe it? No chance for a goodbye kiss, just a sudden breakup. Even his friends felt the sting, so to celebrate Shit's newfound single life, they planned to take him to Mitsugi Trade Guild. Word was, they sold a special chocolate there rumoured to win over any girl. Shit was instantly hooked. Meanwhile, the sisters Iris had approached Seri, the pink-haired girl famed across the kingdom for her intellect. Iris hoped Seri could decode an ancient relic she'd retrieved from the Diablo's cult's base. At first, Seri hesitated, shy and lacking confidence, but with encouragement from her adoptive father, the vice principal Seri accepted. To keep Seri safe during her research, Iris formed a new Knights Guild to guard her. Even Alexia pledged her protection, eager to uncover the cult's secrets. Alongside Shit's two friends, they all headed straight to Mitsugi Trade Guild after class. This place gleamed with sleek modern architecture mirroring commercial districts from their past lives. The air buzzed with the promise of adventure and maybe, just maybe, a chance to win hearts with a simple piece of chocolate. At that moment, a stunning girl approached SH, asking him to survey the trading hall's new products. The two young men beside Esh were thrilled, thinking they were included, but it was only SH she wanted. As he surveyed the luxurious wares displayed reminiscent of his previous life, he wondered who possessed the knowledge to create such marvels. The girl then led Esh upstairs, and there was no product survey at all. Upon entering, SH found a line of beautiful girls waiting beside the aisle with Gamma, a member of Shadow Garden, standing before him. She had long awaited his visit, sharing that all the trading hall's products were knowledge imparted by him. Though SH once regarded Gamma as highly intelligent, her clumsiness often led to her tripping over her own feet. Seated on a throne, SH felt like a true, dark lord, and Gamma's thorough preparations warranted a reward. She felt nostalgic, as this was the light that had once pulled her from despair. When SH inquired about the trading hall's operations, Gamma proudly revealed their treasury of 1 billion gold coins, leaving SH astounded. He had no idea Gamma had turned his teachings into a mountain of wealth, while he had previously feigned weakness to beg Alexia for coins. Gamma then reported to SH about the fake Shadow Garden members committing crimes. SH recalled Yaga's tales of a group in black assassins prowling under the cover of night. Determined, he declared he would personally hunt them down tonight. Gamma also introduced SH to a new girl, Nu, who had recently joined them. If he needed anything, he could direct her to assist before leaving. SH casually mentioned wanting to buy 3 pieces of the cheapest chocolate, but as Gamma turned away, he stealthily swiped a gold coin from her. With their fun time drawing to a close, the 3 friends hurried back before the dormitory doors closed. Reflecting on Gamma's words, SH speculated that the impersonator of Shadow Garden could only be Alexia, recalling how she had attacked him similarly the other day. To investigate further, he sent his friends ahead, claiming he was feeling unwell and needed to resolve his discomfort immediately, lest he embarrass himself. Though reluctant, his friends promised to keep his secret about his little escapade. Once alone, SH began his investigation, and soon spotted Alexia confronting some fake Shadow Garden members. He was taken aback to see her employing his sword techniques in battle. However, the enemies were overwhelming, and Alexia struggled to fend them off. Luckily, Z arrived just in time to rescue her from the ruthless imposters, causing them to flee at the sight of the real deal. Alexia was eager to learn what SH would do with his formidable power, but he simply cautioned her to stay out of it before pursuing the fleeing foes. They thought they had escaped, but SH caught up swiftly, dispatching the first and second attackers. Just then, Nu appeared, stating she would extract information from the last one. He attempted to flee, but with a single strike, Nu defeated him. It turned out these imposters were followers of the Diablo's cult, plotting to retrieve the ancient artifact that Iris had entrusted to Seria for research. Thanks to Alexia, Iris learned that the serial killers masquerading as Shadow Garden were fake, while the real one, Alpha, possessed far superior combat abilities. Regardless, both Shadow Garden and the Diablo's cult remained Iris's enemies, as she would not allow any organization to wreak havoc in the capital. Sh's friends inadvertently revealed his embarrassing outing, but he shrugged it off. He had always been a background character. That day, the 2 friends decided to use the chocolate SH had bought the day before as gifts. Unexpectedly, Horo's first target turned out to be an upperclassman, and with Horo's pathetic appearance, it was no surprise that the girls were slightly put off. To make matters worse, Horo was caught by her boyfriend and received a sound beating. Zagar had to be more careful, as he had devised a plan to investigate everything from relationships to the target's measurements. However, Jugger ended up berated as a creepy stalker. Meanwhile, SH decided to gift the very first girl he encountered, which coincidentally was Seria, the girl he had met before. He left a box of chocolate for her and slipped away quietly, having never tasted chocolate himself. Seria, who had never seen chocolate before, picked up the box, examining it with wonder. Her adoptive father explained that it was a popular candy recently, and upon learning it was a gift from a boy, he insisted that she must be liked by someone. He encouraged her to engage with others to learn how to reciprocate such feelings. Despite her father's declining health, he remained cheerful, proud of his obedient daughter. As Seria focused on deciphering the artifact, the chocolate captivated her attention. Unable to resist, she took a bite, and the sweet flavour exploded in her mouth, bringing her immense joy. Meanwhile, Nu had procured a uniform to attend the academy, and informed SH that she had captured the black-clad man from yesterday. However, he had been heavily brainwashed, making it impossible to extract any information. The cult had employed such tactics to tarnish Shadow Garden's reputation. Seri, having never laid eyes on chocolate before, held it delicately, admiring it like a rare treasure. Her adoptive father explained that this sweet treat had become wildly popular recently. Upon hearing a young man gifted it to Seri, he confidently said the youth must have feelings for her, urging Seri to open up and learn how to respond to such affection. Though his health was fragile, his heart swelled with pride for his obedient daughter. Seri was deep into decoding the relic, but the chocolate kept catching her eye. Unable to resist, she took a bite, and instantly a wave of sweetness flooded her senses, a joy she hadn't known before. Meanwhile, Nu had found a uniform to attend the academy, and informed Shit that the man in black they caught yesterday was heavily brainwashed, revealing no secrets. The cult's mind control was ruthless, tarnishing Shadow Garden's name. Despite this, some victims retained their sanity. Nu uncovered that one such individual named R was in the royal capital, plotting something sinister for the cult. Shit muttered to himself, as if piecing together their scheme. Though his words were casual, Nu's eyes sparkled with admiration. No matter the chaos, Shit always found the right answer. That day, Shit's friends signed him up for the Bazine Sword Festival, dragging trouble his way, which he met with a punch for each of them. Shit's older sister also competed in the festival, clinching victory in her first match. Outside, every duel was a gamble, with spectators betting fiercely. Since Shit's friends ignored her, they lost all their money and were stuck eating instant noodles till month's end. But their spirits weren't broken. They placed their bets on Shit's next fight. His opponent, Jose Oriana, the student council president, and Kingdom's princess, a sword master, unrivaled at the academy. Shit silently thanked fate for this golden chance to play the background role. The match erupted, with both fighters charging at each other. When Jose attacked, Shit faked an injury, swallowing a blood-like broth he'd prepared, collapsing dramatically on the arena floor as if struck down. It was a move that blurred the lines between courage and cunning. Oriana, the princess of the Oriana Kingdom, was renowned for her unparalleled swordsmanship at the academy. Shit silently thanked the heavens for this golden opportunity to play the role of an underdog. As the match began, the two opponents charged at each other. When Jose launched her attack, Shit quickly pulled out a piece of meat he had prepared, swallowing it to simulate blood. He then collapsed on the ground as if struck down. But Shit knew that this performance wasn't enough to snag an Oscar just yet. Losing at this stage felt too soon, so he mustered his strength and rose again, putting on a brave face for the fight. Just like before, he pretended to be pummeled by Jose. The referee, eager to end the match, was caught off guard by Shit's passion for acting. Meanwhile, Rose believed Shit was a determined fighter, pouring more magical energy into her next strike. At this point, even the referee had to step in to protect Shit, announcing the victor. However, Shit refused to accept this outcome, prompting the referee to summon several burly students to drag him out. And thus, the match concluded, leaving Shit's two friends utterly broke. After bandaging his wounds, Shit encountered his senior Seri, who seemed quite taken with him after sampling the chocolates he had given her. Unfortunately, he couldn't recall who she was, having merely tossed the chocolate box her way before leaving in embarrassment. Seri seemed utterly smitten after tasting the chocolate. But Shit barely remembered her. He'd just tossed the box and left shy and awkward. In return, Seri gifted him a bag of cookies, hoping to forge a friendship and start truly knowing each other. When Shit accepted, she eagerly shared the news with her father. To Shit's surprise, Seri's father was none other than Lair, the vice principal of the academy. Lair asked Shit to look after his daughter, who was so absorbed in research she hardly socialized. Shit thought it was crazy for a background character like him to befriend such a prominent figure, but he couldn't refuse a father's heartfelt plea. From that day, Seri daydreamed about Shit, her focus on research slipping away. Meanwhile, Shit used his injury as an excuse to avoid Seri. But then, a thought struck Seri. Was Shit really dating Princess Alexia? Determined to get clarity, she sought out Alexia. Alexia was brewing coffee when Seri knocked. Though it was late, Alexia invited Seri in. Watching Seri make coffee with such flair made Alexia feel a little inferior. After some small talk, Alexia learned Seri came about Shit. Blushing, Seri asked if Alexia was still with Shit. Hearing they had broken up, Seri breathed a sigh of relief and told Alexia they'd become close friends, so Seri could now pursue Shit without worry. Alexia's jealousy flared, but she masked it with cool calm, while Seri left cheerfully, leaving Alexia alone with her bitter envy. That day, Shit's class was briefed on the student council elections, but Shit barely cared, absorbed in arm exercises. Minutes later, Jose arrived to explain the election. Meanwhile, in the academy's basement fake shadow garden, agents struck. They unleashed a massive magic barrier, sealing the entire school. When Alexia arrived, the gates were locked tight, and she was shocked to find someone inside slaughtered. The students remained clueless, except Shit, who sensed the barrier blocking enemy magic. Suddenly, imposters burst into the classroom, announcing the academy was under their control, and ordering students to stay put. Jose refused to surrender and lifted her sword, ready to fight. But just as she raised her blade, the tension thickened. The battle for control was about to ignite, with fate hanging by a thread. With Rose's life in jeopardy, Shit instinctively played the hero, pushing Rose behind him to shield her from an incoming strike from one of the imposters. Rose was left in shock, witnessing Shit standing valiantly in front of her. Just moments prior, Shit had been thrilled, anticipating an opportunity to shine against the evil, attacking their school, believing this was his moment to truly perform. However, when he took a blow and fell to the ground, it was merely an act, an intense performance. Yet Rose couldn't help but weep, convinced that Shit had sacrificed himself out of love for her. Jose realized her miscalculation too late, feeling regret wash over her. Time was running out. The imposters were about to take her and all the students to the auditorium, so she could only thank Shit before moving with the others. Once the classroom was empty, Shit activated his heartbeat, once more revealing he had temporarily stopped it to feign death for 10 minutes. During that time, his blood continued to circulate normally. A skill not easily mastered as a mistake could mean instant demise. Although magical energies were in chaos, Shit still managed to heal his wounds, then set off to explore the academy, Chanmi keen to see what the imposters were up to. Meanwhile, Seri was engrossed in deciphering an artifact, oblivious to the chaos around her. Just then, an intruder from the cult smashed through her window, claiming allegiance to the Shadow Garden and demanding the artifact she held. Fortunately, a knight named Zen arrived just in time to protect Seri. With magical powers rendered useless, Zen relied solely on his swordsmanship to fend off the cultists, giving Seri the chance to escape and seek help, while Shit watched from the rooftop, observing the unfolding situation. The imposters had herded all the students into the auditorium, and the academy's guards had been eliminated, leaving Iris's Night Brigade in a tight spot. The chaotic magical energy made it difficult for them to breach the academy. Inside, the cultists scoured the premises for any students hiding. Amidst the tension, the Dark Minister maintained an air of cool confidence, surveying the scene from above. However, Shit noted that the cultists had a horrendous fashion sense. Wearing black cloaks during the day was an affront to style and offence to the eyes. He conjured a slim bow and began sniping the intruders with a precision intending to play this game of sniper until dusk. Suddenly, Shit noticed Seri darting around the academy to evade the evil ones. Because she was a bit too conspicuous, he casually eliminated one of her pursuers. Shit's instincts told him everything was going according to plan, so he swooped down to continue tracking Seri. Every would-be assailant approaching her was silently dispatched. At times, Seri felt she was being watched, but when she turned around, there was no one there. One by one, her foes were handled with ease, yet she assumed the academy was haunted, tiptoeing carefully on the stairs. Suddenly, Seri slipped, but luckily, Shit caught her, cradling her in his arms. In that moment, she felt as if she had been saved by a gallant hero. Shit advised Seri to keep her thoughts to herself during their escape, and suggested removing her noisy shoes, otherwise the enemy would hear her. Exiting the stairwell, they reached the office of her father, who appeared to have escaped, but the documents remained scattered on the floor. According to the records, the enemy possessed a powerful artifact known as the Eye of Greed, which was the source of the magical disruptions at the academy. Though magic swordsmen were drained of their powers, the black-clad imposters were unaffected, as the Eye was configured not to drain their magic. Their objective was to herd the students into the auditorium to absorb their magic. Once the Eye was filled, it would unleash a destructive force, obliterating the academy in an instant. Due to its perilous nature, her father had kept it a secret. After a lengthy analysis of the artifact by the Night Brigade, Seri discovered that the device she held could neutralize the Eye of Greed. She resolved to use a hidden underground passage to reach the auditorium, where she would activate the artifact and bring it close to the Eye to nullify its power. Shit was impressed by Seri's well-thought-out plan, realizing this was a golden opportunity for him to shine in this chaotic episode. Suddenly, she remembered she had left the artifact's adjustment device in the research room. Coincidentally, Shit needed to use the restroom, so he decided to fetch it for her. At that moment, the cult leader was growing increasingly frustrated that Rake had yet to retrieve the artifact from Seri. The leader warned him that many in their group had been taken out, indicating that the Shadow Garden might have infiltrated the academy. As Rake was on his way to hunt down Seri, 4 of his accomplices mysteriously vanished without a trace. Rake, taken by surprise, was then sent flying 5 meters away by Shit's swift strike. Realizing Shit's speed, Rake set up a net for defense, knowing that the moment Shit touched it, he would be detected. Shit listened to Seri's plan. It sounded flawless, a perfect moment for him to step up as Shadow Garden's hidden ace. Suddenly, Seri realized she'd forgotten the relic's control device in the central lab. Shit, taking a bathroom break, volunteered to fetch it for her. Meanwhile, the cult's leader, Seethed R, hadn't yet retrieved the relic from Seri and was just loitering around. The leader threatened to beat R into shape, pushing him into action. Before leaving, R warned the leader that many of their group had been wiped out, suspecting Shadow Garden had infiltrated the academy. As R hunted Suri, 4 of his comrades vanished without a trace. Then SH suddenly shoved R, sending him flying 5 meters away, a shocking display of strength and strategy unfolding before their eyes. The ship moved with blinding speed, so Red crafted a defensive net. Any contact with it would reveal the intruder instantly. But Shit slipped right through the net and shoved him harder than before. Red was cornered inside the classroom, powerless to fight back. There he discovered many comrades sitting neatly in their seats, yet none stirred. Red cried out in panic, prompting SH to have this guy log out quietly. Meanwhile, Nu found that Iris's vice knight was fatally wounded inside Seri's room. Nu's ex-fiancé Miro was also gravely injured at the hands of their enemies. Nu's heart sank, realizing that no matter how strong a person is without magic, they become vulnerable. As Nu was about to finish off Miro to free him, Shit appeared. He turned back to Seri's room to grab the items she requested. Meanwhile, Nu updated Shit about the situation inside and outside Shadow Garden, had ambushed the academy grounds waiting for orders. But with magic limited, they couldn't even maintain battle gear. Only those inside the Shadow Veil could move freely. Gamma had to remain in the capital to command because her movements were too conspicuous. The church was reinforcing defences within the Veil, while the knights hesitated, waiting for royal orders. Shit listened to Nu's report, but barely retained a word, thinking Nu was the top student, so he asked her for help. Meanwhile, the Shadow Garden team had reached the assembly hall and was preparing to launch their attack, while Shit stood beside Ceres, waiting for her to finish her work. After a period of relentless concocting, Ceres successfully activated the device to neutralize the Eye of Greed. With this, the imposters would no longer be able to seal their magic. Next, Ceres would descend into the secret tunnel of the room to reach the assembly hall. She found it fascinating that the room had such a hidden passage. At that moment, Ceres was reminded of her painful past, recalling how her mother had seemingly been murdered by a wicked foe. However, she was too young to understand what was happening at the time. Fortunately, after her mother's death, Ceres was adopted by her father, who would support her in continuing her mother's research. And now, Ceres would use her mother's research to save the world. Shit understood that Ceres wanted to go alone and wished her success. The leader was growing increasingly anxious, waiting for Rake to return, while all his guards outside had mysteriously vanished. On the other side, Jose was deeply worried for the students inside the assembly hall, as every few minutes the guards turned a random student into a target for their shooting practice. But with no magic left, Jose and the others could only sit idly by, unable to do anything. Ceres approached the assembly hall and witnessed the inhumane actions of the imposters, while the leader kept the Eye of Greed in hand, awaiting it to absorb more magic. Seri wanted to go alone, so he wished her success. The leader was restless. Rake had been gone too long, and all their guards outside had vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Jose worried for the students inside the hall. Every few minutes, guards turned a random student into target practice. But with no magic left, Jose and the others could only sit helplessly. Seri reached the hall and witnessed the inhuman actions of the imposters. The leader still clutched a greedy eye, waiting to drain its magic. Seri activated a disabling device and threw it into the crowd. A golden flash cut off the greedy eye's power. Seizing the moment, Jose knocked down a guard and grabbed a sword, rallying everyone to rise up and fight back. The leader, seeing his reckless minions faltering, ordered them to slaughter the students. Jose and the others struggled to defend themselves, her magic still not returning. She began to weaken under the onslaught, but recalling Jose's willpower surged. Just then, Shit descended into the hall, praising Rose's elegant swordplay before introducing Shadow Garden, a secret force hunting darkness itself. At his command, Shadow Garden charged to eliminate the imposters. Amidst the chaos, Jose urged the students to flee outside. SH noticed the leader entering the hall preparing something. Suddenly, poisonous gas filled the air, engulfing the hall in flames. The entire academy was set ablaze. It turned out the leader sneaked inside and unleashed a cloud of gas, but luckily all the students managed to escape the hall to tend to their wounds. When Iris arrived, Jose recounted how the Shadow Garden team had wiped out every pirate inside the hall, yet the cause of the fire remained a mystery. Seri ignored the danger and searched all over the academy, while the leader had already returned to his room to destroy all the documents inside. But Shit was waiting there to expose his true colours. You already know the that figure was none other than the vice principal Seri's foster father. He never expected Shit's eyes to be so sharp. Shit wanted to hear his story. The vice principal confessed that he once struggled desperately to reach the pinnacle of swordsmanship, but when illness struck, all his efforts crumbled. One day, he discovered an ancient artifact called the Greedy Eye, rumoured to cure any disease. The one researching it was Seri's mother. But after her work was done, she planned to hand the artifact over to the kingdom because it was too dangerous. That's when he ruthlessly killed her. Back then, Seri was too young to grasp what had happened. Later, he used lies to manipulate Seri, pushing her to continue researching another relic for him. Now, everything was laid bare. With nothing more to ask, Shit reminded him to draw his sword before others came to disturb them. As they charged at each other, Shit unleashed a flurry of strikes and then flew outside. The vice principal thought Shit was finished, but Shit swiftly returned, revealing his true form as the Shadow Boss. Just seeing this form, the vice principal already felt weaker, so he used the Greedy Eye to enhance his body. Thanks to its dark power, the vice principal was healed, and his strength soared to new heights. His attack speed surged. Still, Shit simply stood firm, blocking every strike. No matter how fast the vice principal moved, Shit easily severed his arm. Realizing he couldn't win, the old man resorted to dirty tricks. He had arranged many crimes to pin on Shadow Garden after this incident. But Shit made it clear Shadow Garden was neither righteous nor evil, just walking the path he chose. No matter the accusations, Shit didn't care. Even if Shit became the world's enemy, he wouldn't flinch. The vice principal seethed, calling Shit arrogant. But Shit quickly launched a barrage of sword strikes into his body. Finally, Shit drove a blade through his heart, ending him right there just as the vice principal had taken Seri's mother's life years ago. When Seri arrived, she was horrified to see her foster father dead by Shit's hand. Though she wept, Shit refused to explain. If Seri learnt the dark truth about her foster father, it would only deepen her pain. The next day, the media branded Shit a reckless murderer and the kingdom's top villain. But Alpha and Gamma knew their boss would bear the world's blame without hesitation. No matter what people said, Shadow Garden would keep doing what needed to be done. As his subordinates, they had to support Shadow's resolve. Seri met Shit again to thank him for saving her. She told him she was preparing to study abroad, partly because her foster father was gone, partly to gain new knowledge. Though Seri wished to talk more, it was time for her to leave. Shit wished her safety and success in her academic journey. Before parting, they promised to meet again. Because half the academy was burned down, students got an early summer break. Most chose to visit home, but Shit stayed in the capital. His sister Ciel wanted to invite him home, but Shit cleverly climbed to the ceiling to sneak away. Not knowing where to spend his summer break, Shit received a letter from Alpha. She informed him it was time to settle old scores in the Linum territory. Though Alpha was busy, the others were quite idle. Delta slept past noon, Yuta drifted in and out of consciousness, and Epsilon spent all day admiring her slim outfit. She silently thanked Lord Shadow for granting her the power to break through her own barriers and defeat enemies. Her sworn enemy was Beta, who idolized Lord Shadow so much she wrote fantasy novels about him daily. But writing all day was exhausting, so Beta decided to get some fresh air. As soon as she stepped outside, she bumped into Epsilon, who boasted to Beta that Lord Shadow noticed her curves, even if the chest padding was just slim. Beta didn't realize this, so she suffered a bitter defeat. Their quarrel only stopped when Nu announced that Alpha had sent letters to the MG sisters. They had a chance to visit the Mitsugi Trading Guild to shop, because Alexia was about to embark on a goddess trial journey and needed stunning outfits. When the royal visitors arrived, Gamma the guild owner personally greeted them. Through conversation, Gamma learned Alexia was going on a trip and needed everyday clothes for the journey. Understanding her wishes, Gamma brought out some sheer lingerie sets. Iris felt embarrassed, but Alexia was mischievous and confident about her figure. She pulled Iris against the wall, determined to try them on. At first, Iris resisted, citing how revealing the pieces were, but once Alexia pressed her with fierce resolve, Iris gave in. Days before, the fire had thrown the academy into chaos, but thankfully no students had died. When Rose found Shit alive, she was overjoyed and vowed to dedicate her heart to him. On the train back to Linham territory, Rose clung to Shit, never leaving his side. The journey to the sacred land would take 2 more days. Though Shit could have teleported, he chose the train to play a civilian role. Somehow, he and Rose met again at the station, and she stubbornly stuck by him. Rose also planned to attend the goddess trial at Linham, viewing it as a challenging path and wanting to face it alongside Shit. Their fates intertwined, they prepared to overcome the trials ahead together. 1 more day until they reached their destination. Although SH could just glide there in a flash, he chose the train due to his role as an extra. Unexpectedly, he ran into Rose at the station and she latched onto him like a shadow. Little did they know, Rose was headed to the goddess trial at the Linham Sanctuary, viewing this trial as a treacherous path she wanted to navigate alongside SH. Ultimately, the two envisioned a wedding and a lifetime of happiness together. Rose's romantic dreams left SH speechless, making him suspect that this sister might be plotting something, crafting a bright future just to charm him. Thus, he resolved to keep his distance from her. Even though, that night, Jose sneakily brought a pillow over to sleep with SH, he cleverly escaped to the roof. The two were destined to wed, living a blissful life side by side, a fairy tale dream spun by Rose that left she utterly speechless. He suspected his sister was weaving a cunning plan to lure him in, painting a future too bright to be true. So, he decided to keep his distance. Even when Jose sneakily brought a pillow to share the bed that night, she's quick wit had him slipping away to the attic before dawn. In the past, SH had taught Beta some literary knowledge from his previous life, and now she was leveraging it to make money in this world. He thought, "Beta, I'm really disappointed in you, you know." Meanwhile, Rose proudly showcased her signed book by Natsume, prompting SH to open it and only find strange characters inside. Earlier, Beta had mentioned it was the battle plan of Shadow Garden, but her writing was all in ancient scripts that even Rose couldn't decipher. Alpha had ventured to the sanctuary, seeking clues about the hero Oliver and the sanctuary itself, while also investigating the dark history of Linham. However, the one holding this vital information, the High Priest, had been murdered by an unknown assailant. Despite being a powerful and highly regarded figure in the country, when the priest's subordinates arrived, they mistook Alpha for the killer. They rang the bells throughout the sanctuary to summon more people to capture SH. Outside thinking it was an alarm signaling chaos, SH was enjoying his ice cream when he noticed an assassin sprinting across the rooftops. He quickly chased after him into an alley to block his escape. Suddenly, 3 slicing strikes descended from the sky, dismembering the assassin into tiny pieces, with Epsilon being the one who dealt the fatal blow. She casually informed SH about the battle plan of Shadow Garden, yet SH only caught snippets before turning away coldly. He understood that Epsilon was a girl of high pride, as evidenced by the slim pile she had piled up on her chest. Just like Gamma before, she had passed on fragments of knowledge from his past life's literature to Beta, who now cunningly used it to earn her keep in this world. She couldn't help but feel disappointed in Beta's crafty ways. Rose proudly flaunted her signed copy from Natsumeki's latest work, but when she opened the book, all he saw were strange, ancient scripts. Beta mentioned it was the battle plan of Shadow Garden, yet even Rose couldn't decode those archaic words. Alpha ventured into the sacred cathedral, searching for clues about the hero Oliver and the Holy Realm, while also digging into the dark history of the land Linham. But the keeper of these secrets, the Grand High Priest, had been brutally murdered. Despite his immense power and status, when the priest's guards entered and found Alpha nearby, they assumed she was the killer. Bells tolled throughout the cathedral, summoning reinforcements to capture her. As the high-ranking officials of the church entered, they presumed Alpha had massacred the man. They rang the bells throughout the cathedral, summoning reinforcements to capture her. Outside, Shit interpreted the bells as a warning signal. Amidst the chaos while enjoying a delicious ice cream, he spotted an assassin darting across the rooftops. Shit immediately pursued him into an alleyway to cut him off. Suddenly, 3 blades of light descended from the sky, tearing the assassin into pieces. The one who delivered the fatal blow was Epsilon. She casually informed Shit of Shadow Garden's battle plans, but he only half listened before turning away, sensing Epsilon's strong sense of pride reflected in the pile of limbs she had left behind. Before the goddess's trial, Shit had the chance to visit the hot springs. After washing up, he descended to soak in the relaxing waters, letting go of all his fatigue. He enjoyed the moment, oblivious to Princess Alexia sitting nearby. Meanwhile, Alexia was fuming, irritated that this young man seemed entirely unaware of the situation. After a moment, Alexia inquired about the wound she had inflicted on him previously. Seeing Shit completely healed, she teased him, remarking on his luck in being so resilient. Alexia explained she was there for the goddess's trial as well, to which Shit replied he was clueless about the festival. Alexia informed him that it involved summoning warriors from ancient times to battle, essentially calling forth spirits to fight. If Shit wanted to participate, it was too late to register, as the organisers had closed sign-ups. Alexia herself couldn't enter due to her investigation into the recent murder of the priest. She realised Shit was quite the composed young man, as he didn't sneak a glance at her body at all. If Shit wanted to join now, it was too late for registration because the organisers had closed it. Alexia couldn't participate either, as she was busy investigating the murder of the high priest. At that moment, Alexia realised that Shit was quite the composed young man, since he hadn't stolen a glance at her body. Shit replied that while visiting the hot springs, he always tried not to look at others to keep things comfortable, advising Alexia to stop staring at his holy sword. However, Alexia viewed it as a challenge, which made Shit a bit annoyed. He stood up, revealing his holy sword, causing Alexia to widen her eyes in astonishment. Shit reminded her that the sword was still in its sheath. Once it was drawn, its brilliance would blind her. The next day, the goddess trial officially commenced as the high priest had died, and an old bald man named Z took his place to open the festival. Seeing Z give his speech made Alexia uneasy, because he was the one who had halted the investigation into the high priest's death. Z claimed that his church was already pursuing the assassin, and that the goddess trial needed to proceed without delay. The night squad led by Alexia had no choice but to accept the old man's orders, despite Alexia finding him suspicious. Not only did Z irritate her, but beside her stood the voluptuous author AnimeTáiSinh, whose sweet curves drove the participants wild with excitement. Beta attracted all the attention, causing the competitors to go crazy over her, making Alexia feel slightly inadequate in comparison. On top of that, Beta had that victorious gaze that left Alexia speechless. It turned out Beta had a grudge against Alexia because this princess constantly followed the handsome Saido. According to Beta, Saido was supposed to confess his feelings to her, not to that little princess. When Alexia regained her composure, she stepped on Beta's foot, causing her to wince in pain. Knowing she couldn't compete with her chest, Alexia decided to retaliate with her feet instead. After a lengthy opening speech, Z activated the magic of the Holy Realm, and a radiant cage emerged from the arena floor, signalling the start of the goddess trial. At this moment, the organisers began introducing all the participants. According to the two young spectators, Shit learned about the festival's combat rules. Once the ancient warriors appeared, no one could leave the cage until one side was defeated. Therefore, if someone died in the trial, it would be entirely normal to brush that aside. Now, Shit was only concerned about what he could do with his identity as the Dark Lord. However, after some calculations, he wasn't sure how to make a grand entrance, so he thought it best to play the role of an extra just to watch. But just as the festival was about to conclude, the organisers announced the next contestant, Isekai, from the Sword and Sorcery Academy, which jolted Shit awake from his daze. It turned out Princess Rose had secretly registered him beforehand, leaving him speechless. Now he was torn between whether to show up or not, because if he didn't, the Holy Church would rage, and he'd surely get expelled facing a wrathful sister. With no other choice, Shit had to opt for a path he hadn't planned on from the start. Moments later, a purple light erupted in the festival, causing the audience to buzz with excitement. Saido's entrance turned the entire arena chaotic. With his sword in hand, he introduced himself as the one lurking in the shadows, seeking to hunt darkness. The old man immediately commanded his subordinates to set his plan in motion, as he eagerly awaited Saido's appearance to witness his defeat by the power of destruction. Shit called upon ancient warriors from the Holy Realm, and the character he was about to summon sent ripples of anxiety through the audience. From the Holy Realm's gates, the calamity witch Aurora appeared to face. Shit. According to Beta, Aurora was a woman who had once brought destruction to the world. However, Beta didn't know the full story of Aurora's past, so she decided to use her gorgeous body to charm the old man and extract information from him. The old man spilled everything he knew just from a brief glance at her. According to the records of his church, Aurora was the strongest in history, leading him to believe that shit would surely perish at her hands. But Alexia argued that the goddess trial would summon a worthy opponent for Saido, meaning Saido's power could very well rival Aurora's potentially capable of destroying the world. Now Shit prepared to enter the battle against Aurora, confident that she felt just as exhilarated as he did at that moment. Initially, Aurora unleashed blood spears to attack Shit, but he effortlessly dodged them. Even when she created a cage around him, she still couldn't land a hit. The more they fought, the more excited Shit became, as it had been a long time since he'd had a battle worth looking forward to. Aurora, the woman who once brought destruction upon this world, remains an enigma even to Beta. To unravel her past, Beta seduced the old bald man, coaxing out secrets about Aurora. The man, overwhelmed by the glimpse of her allure, spilled all he knew. According to his church's records, Aurora was the strongest being in history. According to the book, they believed Sard was destined to fall by Aurora's hand, but Alexia sensed something deeper. The goddess trial would summon an opponent worthy of Sard. This meant Sard's power had touched Aurora's level, a force capable of shaking the very world. Now, she was about to step into battle with Aurora, certain that she shared the same thrilling excitement that coursed through him. First, Aurora unleashed blood-forged spears to strike at She, but he danced through every attack with effortless grace. Even when Aurora trapped him inside a cage woven from her spears, none could pierce his defense. The harder they fought, the more alive She felt, as if this was the battle he had long awaited. Now, thousands of spears sealed the cage surrounding him completely, but even this was not enough to faze She. He unleashed a flurry of sword strikes, shattering the blood spears and ending Aurora's assault with swift precision. Though victorious, She longed for a rematch when Aurora was at her peak. As the fight ended, the sacred cage shattered into fragments, and the gate to the Holy Realm opened right there in the arena. Alpha interpreted this as the Holy Realm truly answering Sard's call. After tiring himself out, She thought it was time to rest, planning to soak in the hot springs. But suddenly a massive door appeared behind him. Thinking it was some prank, he teleported away, but wherever he moved the door followed relentlessly. She realized ignoring this door was futile. It would track him home if needed. Its sudden appearance right after his duel with Aurora meant something important lay within. Curious, he stepped through. Back in the arena, people buzzed with speculation. The old bald man said it was the first time the Holy Realm's gate had appeared at the goddess trial, and that the gate came in many forms. Uncertain if the gate was dangerous, the old man ordered all citizens to evacuate the arena and announced the goddess trial was postponed. He also asked the two princesses and Beta to leave. But just then, Shadow Garden appeared and surrounded them. Alpha declared that no one could leave while the gate remained open. Alpha handed over the guardianship of the captives to Epsilon. Then he and Delta moved toward the gate and stepped inside. Epsilon was tasked with keeping the princesses seated and still for their safety. However, the Elder must accompany Shadow Garden into the Holy Realm. Those who disobey will face consequences, especially the Princess Natsume. Knowing this, the younger Princess Beta also keeps her cool, fearing repercussions. Yet the Elder refuses to enter, revealing that he has another minion, the assassin Venom, hidden in the arena. He appears unexpectedly, swinging his sword and severing two of Epsilon's grapefruit-sized illusions. Thinking Epsilon would be exposed for using fake grapefruits all this time, she swiftly absorbs the illusions before anyone notices. She then unleashes a flurry of slashes at Venom, reducing him to mere fragments. Once Venom is dealt with, Epsilon seizes the Elder and drags him into the Holy Realm, followed closely by the Shadow Garden team and Beta. As they rush through the portal, Alexia and Jose sprint in just as the gate begins to close. Upon entering, the two princesses collide with Beta, causing Alexia to unintentionally grasp a meat bun held by Beta. When Alpha arrives, Alexia fabricates a story about tripping and falling through the portal. Although Alpha's expression remains stoic, she refrains from reprimanding Alexia, perhaps realizing that the princesses need to learn about the Holy Realm. Alpha then shares that this is the very place where the hero Oliver defeated the demon god Diablos and sealed away his left arm. Shadow Garden's purpose for entering the Holy Realm is to investigate the Diablos cult. From the start, Alpha had known that the hero Oliver was a woman, not the male statue displayed in the arena. Furthermore, Oliver bears an uncanny resemblance to Alpha herself. The elder, upon seeing Alpha, is taken aback, thinking she had perished from demonic possession. Little does he know that previously, Shit had dispelled that curse to save Alpha. Given his recent demeanor, it's clear he has ties to the Diablo's cult. Thus, Alpha must delve deeper into the truth, alongside everyone else. She channels her magic to unlock the tomb gate of the Holy Realm, revealing that the battle between the warriors and the demon god Diablos occurred right within this tomb. As the entire space begins to tremble, water starts to surge in. At that moment, the female hero Oliver appears beside Alpha, guiding everyone toward the truths of the past. Meanwhile, Shit enters through another door and encounters Aurora. After battling Shit, Aurora feels fulfilled and wishes that if only Shit had been born in her era, how wonderful that would be. Although Shit feels honored, he knows he must find a way back home to the hot springs, as he has no idea how to escape this place. Aurora subtly reminds Shit that surely there must be a way to escape this situation. A breathtaking beauty bound in chains will you not rescue her. With swift strikes of his sword, she cuts through the ropes, granting her the sweet taste of freedom after a millennium. The air feels lighter now that Aurora is free, and she vows to help She find a way out of the Holy Realm. According to Aurora, this realm is a prison of memories forged in ancient times, where only the destruction of the demonic core at its heart can lead to escape. Yet their location renders them powerless. But knowing She's knack for mischief and destruction, Aurora's heart lightens. She entrusts her frail form to the night She to safeguard her. Alpha has witnessed firsthand the dark memories held within this realm, where the Diablo sect took countless orphans to serve as guinea pigs in their twisted experiments. Most perished unable to adapt, leaving only one survivor, the hero Oliver. The Holy Realm can even recreate Aurora's childhood memories, where she too was a child ensnared by the sect's cruel hands. To escape, Aurora must find a way to halt this haunting memory stream. She gifts her younger self a slap, because no amount of tears can alter a painful past. In that moment, she shatters the memory, allowing Alpha's group to witness Oliver's past. She alone adapted to the Diablo cells without undergoing horrific transformations. The old man begrudgingly admits they had to do this to identify a worthy opponent against the demon god. Yet, Alpha knows his justifications are mere fabrications. In truth, Oliver was tasked with collecting Diablo cells for the sect. When Alpha exposes this deception, she reveals a scene from a battlefield where countless warriors sacrificed their lives to sever a Diablo's arm. Though it was detached, its power was immense, prompting the sect to seal it within the Holy Realm, using ancient artifacts. They later utilized the cells from that arm to concoct a potion that enhances magical power widely consumed by their followers. The old man himself was once a researcher for the sect, having created this potion from Diablo's cells. Rumor has it that merely tasting it grants tremendous power and an immortal body. Alpha lays bare all his vile deeds, and with the truth laid out before them, the old man is left with no choice but to confess that the potion is named the blood drop of Diablos. Suddenly, Alexia recognizes a terrifying flaw of this potion. Those who use it inevitably lose their hair, turning bald. The old man, furious, explains that his baldness is merely due to stress. According to Alpha, the Diablo's drop can only be produced once a year, with a total of 12 drops corresponding to the 12 Knights of the Round Table of the Diablo sect. These 12 believe they must use the bloodline of heroes to perfect the Diablo's drop, which is why they hunt down those of Oliver's lineage, like Alpha. Faced with the truth, the old man must bear the weight of his sins. As he attempts to stubbornly escape, Delta swiftly ends his life with a single strike. In a matter of moments, unimaginable power and immortality were within reach. Alpha exposed the villain's dark deeds, his vile acts laid bare before all, leaving him no room to deny. He confessed to using a potion called the blood of Diablos. Suddenly, Alexia noticed a terrible flaw in this potion. After use, anyone with thick hair would become completely bald. The old man grumbled bitterly, blaming stress for his hair loss. Alpha explained that the blood of Diablos was made only once per year, just 12 doses in total, matching the 12 Knights of the Diablo's order. The villain believed completing the potion required the bloodline of heroes, which is why he hunted those related to Oliver like Alpha. Now cornered, the old man took full responsibility. When he stubbornly tried to escape, Delta ended his defiance with a single, precise strike. Yet Delta quickly apologized to Alpha for acting before the interrogation. But one sword strike was not enough to kill such a resilient foe. The villain revived and shattered the Holy Realm's memory walls, fracturing Shadow Garden's unity. Proudly, he declared the Holy Realm his territory and vowed to annihilate Shadow Garden on the spot. He summoned countless clones to battle, but Delta effortlessly cut them down. No clone escaped his claws, no matter their shape or size. After a fierce fight, Delta sensed something wrong. The closer to the Holy Realm's center, the weaker he and Alpha became, while the villain's power grew. It was a trap designed to draw Shadow Garden inside and seize the advantage. Meanwhile, she and Aurora wandered the Holy Realm seeking an exit, but stumbled onto the very battlefield where Alpha had stood moments ago. Aurora took She's hand, urging him forward through the desolation. Soon, they encountered a young, teary-eyed version of Aurora herself. Unable to hold back, she raised her sword to erase this memory, but before she could strike, zombie warriors attacked. Thankfully, she caught Aurora just in time, rescuing her from the undead horde. For now, the zombies held She and Aurora captive, delaying their progress. Meanwhile, Epsilon's group searching for Alpha encountered another zombie. Though cautious, Epsilon remained calm, gliding past the creature as it vanished without a trace. Epsilon explained these were memories triggered only when facing Shadow Garden, most members cursed by the Diablo's Order's dark magic. Without She's intervention, they would have become mindless monsters. Soon, they arrived at the Holy Realm's library, a treasure trove of priceless tomes for Shadow Garden. Yet these were mere illusions. One member cleverly brought a camera to capture evidence. The library near the Holy Realm's core drained magical power, weakening many, including Epsilon, who lost her precious slim orbs. Though detected, she quickly recovered as if nothing had happened. She and Aurora also lost their magic, making their fight against zombies drag painfully on. Bafflingly, the undead kept multiplying. She realized only one desperate move could break this cycle. He raised his sword and ended young Aurora's memory version, fracturing the space and transporting them into a vast chamber. There, a mysterious sword awaited them. Though powerless, Delta fought fiercely, destroying every clone the villain summoned. No one escaped his wrath. Witnessing Shadow Garden's overwhelming strength, the villain began to tremble. Just as he unleashed all his clones, Delta, wielding a solid iron sword, smashed them all with a single blow. Even Alexia, watching Delta's ferocity, was at a loss for words. Her power shone brightly, yet the swordsmanship of Chairman Sard was a masterpiece of elegance and precision. Meanwhile, Delta's subordinate fumbled with mere brawls and scratches lacking any real technique. Beta explained that Delta was a unique kind of brute force brain, asking the princess not to mind as Delta unleashed his fury. When the final foe was vanquished, the bald old man's domain shattered. Hundreds of clones he'd spawned were swiftly wiped away. In no time, Alpha cornered the old man, leaving him with no escape. Desperate, he called upon Hero Oliver from within the statue. Suddenly, a red light burst forth, awakening the heroic Oliver. The bald man rejoiced as if striking gold. Now he had a powerful ally. Just then, Epsilon's group returned, informing Beta that their investigation of the Holy Realm was complete. Epsilon could now open the sacred gate to bring them all out. Not wanting to linger with the old man any longer, Alpha urged the group to swiftly return and bid the bald man farewell, promising to return someday to stir up chaos again. Yet Delta's muscle-bound little sister still craved more battle, forcing Alpha to glare at her, until she obediently wagged her tail like a good pup and scampered off. Once everyone exited the Holy Realm, the bald man sighed in relief he had survived. But his joy was short-lived when he noticed two figures at the central zone. Fearing they might be as powerful as Delta, he summoned Oliver to escort and protect him. Meanwhile, Shit and Aurora stood before the wall known as the Holy Realm's core, surrounded by chains. Only the sacred sword embedded there could sever the bonds. Approaching the sword, Shit was told only the chosen one could lift it. Despite this, he stubbornly tried to lift the sword. Suddenly, Aurora read an inscription. Only Oliver's descendants could wield this blade. Though Shit crushed the sword's hilt in frustration, he feigned defeat. With nothing better to do, the two passed time playing tic-tac-toe before opening up about their youthful dreams. Aurora confessed her desire to destroy the core and free herself from this prison, a place where memories had trapped her for a millennium. Shit encouraged her to hold on just a little longer, promising that soon a true hero would arrive to rescue her from suffering. Expecting a handsome savior, Aurora was taken aback when the hero turned out to be a bald old man accompanied by hero Oliver and a girl who looked exactly like Alpha. The bald man suspected Shit was a lost child lured into the Holy Realm by Aurora, ordering Oliver to swiftly eliminate him. Aurora grew nervous as Oliver's overwhelming strength became clear, yet she was even more surprised when Shit sword in hand matched Oliver's lightning-fast attacks. Oliver struck Shit across the room, and Aurora worried the fight would soon end with Shit's death. But Shit endured the onslaught, testing Oliver's might, his smile growing wide and thrilled finally, a worthy opponent. Oliver pressed on to finish Shit off, but Shit only dodged and absorbed the blows, refusing to strike back. When the bald man demanded why, Shit replied Oliver had no heart, so there was no reason to fight fiercely. Frustrated, the old man ordered Oliver to swiftly end the boy. At this moment, Aurora pleaded for Shit's life to be spared. Oliver's power was too great. She thanked Shit for the precious memories he had given her. Their clash was more than a battle. It was a dance of souls, a test not just of strength, but of spirit. In this crucible, Shit found purpose, and Aurora found hope. If you've ever felt trapped by your past or powerless against fate, take a breath and ask yourself what hero might awaken within you. Sometimes the fiercest battles forge the brightest lights. And if you're lost between choices in life, may this story remind you even a small light can guide the way. Thanks for sharing in this journey with me. Shit didn't need to sacrifice his life for Aurora. Even the bald old man now saw him as nothing more than a pitiful background character. He said if Aurora obeyed, Shit would be spared. Watching Aurora agree so meekly made Shit deeply uneasy. She acted like he was going to lose to Oliver. And Shit, he was pissed off too. The bald man hearing this flew into a rage and ordered Oliver to charge and eliminate Shit. Even though she had stabbed her sword through Oliver's body, Shit had been waiting for this moment all along. He instantly subdued Oliver, preventing her from moving, then bit down hard into his neck. The scene shocked everyone watching. When Oliver's blood was drained, she shattered into pieces. The bald man couldn't believe his eyes. Shit was pierced through and still alive. Shit only needed to protect his arteries and vital organs. So, even when the enemy stabbed directly, he didn't bother dodging and took the chance to bite Oliver's neck. At such close range, she couldn't evade. The bald man thought he'd lost his mind. Now, losing Oliver, all he could do was beg Shit to spare his old life. But his nature was cruel. He betrayed his word. As long as he protected his arteries and vital organs, he was fine. So, even when faced with a direct attack, he didn't flinch. He took advantage of the moment and bit into Oliver's neck from close range, leaving her no chance to escape. The bald man hearing this thought, Shit must have lost his mind. Now that he had lost Oliver, all he could do was plead for his own miserable life. But his true nature shone through as he betrayed his own words. He claimed that a vast amount of magic power lay dormant in this sacred realm, which was actually the embodiment of many heroes Oliver had painstakingly created. He thought that Shit had merely gotten lucky taking down one clone, but if the entire group of Olivers attacked together, Shit would only have a slim chance. However, this was Shit's moment to shine. With a single sweep of his sword, he obliterated the oncoming clones. The bald man had no idea what weapon Shit wielded, or how he could still harness magic. Shit revealed that he had refined his magic to such an extent that the sacred realm couldn't drain it. The bald man's eyes widened in disbelief. How could an ordinary person like Shit achieve such a feat? But because Shit was just an ordinary person, his wounds now bled profusely. With the fun now over, Shit asked Aurora how to destroy the magic core. As she explained each step, Shit found it unnecessarily complicated. He decided to use a technique that would obliterate the entire sacred realm in one go. As soon as he spoke those words, an overwhelming surge of magic erupted from him, transforming the surrounding space. Just as the clone stabbed him, he activated the technique, vaporizing all the Olivers and the bald man in an instant. His technique erased all of Oliver's clones, along with the bald man in an instant. The purple light also completely destroyed the sacred zone, leaving the two princesses wide-eyed and speechless. When Shit came to, he found himself lying next to Aurora. Aurora felt deep admiration for Shit, who had taken her from one surprise to another. The destruction of the mana core meant Aurora had to disappear. Before, she thought freedom would bring relief, but meeting Shit gave her beautiful memories she didn't want to part with. Shit admitted he was truly happy to have met her. Knowing her time was short, Aurora gave Shit one last kiss before vanishing completely. The overwhelming power of Sard made Alexia feel weak and helpless. Throughout the battle, she could do nothing but watch like a bystander. Rose confessed she felt the same helplessness when the academy was set on fire. Even for Shadow Garden and the Diablo's cult, Jose knew nothing. In short, these three were powerless and clueless. So Alexia suggested they unite. With the initial team of 2 princesses and a famous writer, the trio would gather information to better understand this world. Without Sard's overwhelming strength, Alexia urged them to at least do something useful. The 3 girls then activated their team spirit right in the forest. Though their countries and statuses differed, all 3 promised to share a common goal. The destruction of the sacred zone took the sacred sword and mana core with it. Alpha admired Sard even more now he always found the swiftest way to end conflicts. According to data collected by Epsilon, Alpha speculated that Aurora was the Diablo's demon god. Setting that aside, Alpha reminded everyone to prepare for the next battle in the MGA capital city. While the others headed to Linum, Gamma was busy in the capital dealing with real estate. She was opening a new branch of the trade guild in Country G. At first she hesitated because the land seller asked for an exorbitant price, but Nu informed her that the area was rich in oil resources. So Lady Gamma spent a fortune to secure the entire property and promised to turn it into the nation's top urban district. After the battle in the territory, peace seemed to return. Looking at the big family of Sard Garden, she had built Alpha felt nostalgic. Back then, Alpha created a base using the housing knowledge Shit had passed down. To make the girls stronger, Alpha trained each to enhance their combat abilities, so they could one day face the Diablo's cult. While reminiscing, Gamma arrived with important news. The Prime Minister of the Oriana Kingdom was on his way to the MGA capital. This signaled a new war brewing for Shadow Garden. Alexia had returned to the capital and was enjoying a hot spring bath with Iris. There she shared the entire story from the Sacred Zone, including the High Priest's assassination and the Bald Man's allegiance to the Diablo's cult. Alexia urged Iris to form a team to thoroughly investigate all cults in Linum, seeking any other villains. Iris had actually mentioned this to their father, but he forbade anyone from touching the church as he was about to host the Oriana King. Thus, stirring trouble with the church was off limits. Iris believed that to make their father act, she had to prove her strength. If she won first place in the Bush and Sword tournament, her father wouldn't ignore her plea anymore. Speaking of the festival, Alexia feared the Diablo's cult and Shadow Garden would cause chaos again. But Iris thought their power all came from relics, which were manageable. That terrifying purple power wasn't something an ordinary person could claim. Despite her sister's warnings, Iris believed Shadow Garden's strength came from a new relic, and if they appeared, she vowed to defeat them. Suddenly, Iris recalled how Alexia had neglected her duties to follow Shadow Garden into the Sacred Zone. At this point, Alexia had to make an excuse to sneak away quickly to avoid her sister's questions. Princess Rose Ariana was diligently training her sword skills for the Bushin festival. Remembering Shit's sword technique, she thought it was truly beautiful. Just then, Jose noticed something strange happening in his heart. Days later, the Bushin Sword tournament officially began, a grand event gathering many renowned masters from various countries. On the surface, they all looked like elite demon swordsmen, but to Shit, they were just background characters. For this event, Shit decided to keep his skills hidden, making the audience think he was weak and fragile. Then, he planned to unleash his power, leaving everyone breathless and wondering who he really was. No one was allowed to touch the church because soon there would be a reception with the king of the Oriana Kingdom. So making enemies with the church was unnecessary. Iris believed that if she wanted her father to act, she had to prove her strength. Suppose she won first place at the Bush and Sword tournament, then her father couldn't ignore her request anymore. Speaking of the upcoming Bushin festival, Alexia feared the Diablo's Order and Shadow Garden would cause trouble again. However, Iris thought the power of those two groups came from relics and wasn't worth worrying about. That terrifying purple power wasn't something an ordinary person could possess. Ignoring her sister's advice, Iris insisted that Shadow Garden must have new relics to be so strong. So if that group appeared, Iris promised she would defeat them. Suddenly, Iris remembered how Alexia neglected her duties to follow Shadow Garden into the Holy Realm. At this point, Alexia had to make an excuse to slip away quickly. She couldn't face her sister's interrogation any longer. Princess Rose Ariana was diligently training her sword skills to prepare for the Bushin Festival. Recalling Shit's sword style from before, she felt it was truly a beautiful style, just at the right moment. Jose discovered a strange stirring in his heart, and days later, the Bushin Sword Festival officially began a grand gathering of legendary swordmasters from across nations. At first glance, they all seemed like elite demon swordsmen, but to John Smith, they were mere background characters. With this event, John decided to play the undercover youth, hiding his true strength to make the crowd underestimate him, only to blow their minds with his power later. John sought out Gamma to help him disguise himself. The moment Gamma saw her boss, she was so flustered, she tumbled flat on the floor. John explained he needed to conceal his identity for the Bushin Festival. Since time was tight, he couldn't reveal the full reason yet. Gamma immediately called for all the makeup tools. First, she applied an advanced slim cream to John's face, while ITA set up a transformation device she invented. Before the transformation, Gamma let John choose the face he preferred. This situation is pressing, so Shit can't reveal all the details to Gamma just yet. Upon hearing this, she immediately calls for preparations to ensure a perfect transformation for him. First, Gamma applies a special slim cream to Shit's face, while ITA sets up her transformation machine that she crafted. Before the transformation begins, Gamma allows Shit to choose his desired face. Spotting a weak-looking youth, she suggests that, show me that look. Shit rates it a perfect 10, and with his approval, Gamma activates the transformation machine powered by rice and a train engine. After a few moments, the machine turns Shit into a genuine, weak-looking young man. Just by observing his slumped posture, anyone would perceive him as frail. Next, Shit picks out a tattered outfit and a shabby sword to complete the look. Gamma's preparations impress Shit, acknowledging her cleverness, though she does have a tendency to trip over herself occasionally. A female warrior named Anne arrives to participate in the Bushin Festival, rumoured to have summoned ancient warriors at the goddess's training grounds. Upon seeing Shit in his weak guise, Anne advises him to abandon the festival. Even a one-eyed punk mocks Shit, suggesting he go home to nurse his mother, because staying here will only lead to a beating. Yet Shit simply reminds him not to judge others by their appearances. This rebuke shames the one-eyed punk, who feels humiliated by being looked down upon by someone perceived as weak. Frustrated, he decides to teach Shit a lesson by beating him up. In reality, Shit had countless ways to defeat him instantly, but he chooses to endure the beating, playing the role of the weakling. Anne, witnessing Shit's suffering, can't stand by any longer and urges the punk to stop. She then checks on Shit, asking if he's lost any teeth. Shit simply smirks, saying it's been a while since he tasted blood. Anne stares in shock, bewildered by how this seemingly dull youth could make such a bold statement. The weak and despised must be taught a lesson, so he gave She a beating that tossed him from shore to mud. Only then would he relent. In truth, She could have chosen countless ways to fight back and end it immediately, but his dull role meant he swallowed every punch without a single slip. Anne, watching She suffer, couldn't bear it any longer and had to remind him to stop. Then she came over to check if She lost any teeth, but She just flashed a dangerous grin, saying it had been a long time since he tasted blood. Anne blinked in surprise, wondering what kind of hidden power this dull youth possessed to boast so coolly. Soon after, the organisers opened registration for the contestants, and She Proud, after impressing Annie, signed up. He then arranged a meal with his friend Horo, who shared insider info about the top fighters in this Bushin tournament. First was the troublemaker Quinton, the one who just beat Xit, then Princess Iris, and Student Council President Rose, both worthy champions. Also, there was a super strong female swordsman named Ain from the Belgata Empire. Horo gathered all this intel because he wanted to bet on someone to recover his lost money from before. But after hearing it all, she couldn't care less about any of these figures. On his way home, she ran into Council President Jose, holding some McDonald's food. Jose mentioned how her trio had eaten there recently, and when she learnt the other two were Alexia and Beta, he quietly judged that this sister squad was definitely problematic. As for Rose, she confided in She that she was about to meet her father, who had arranged her engagement to the Prime Minister. According to Jose, the Oriana Empire cherished art and despised swords, so her father and the kingdom's people opposed her becoming a sword maiden. Yet Jose couldn't forget the beautiful swordsmanship of the boy who saved her as a child, so no matter what others said, she refused to abandon her ideals. Finishing her thought, Jose turned to She and asked if he believed in her. Seeing She's complete trust, Jose was overjoyed and thanked him. Before parting, She gifted her a McDonald's cake as a token. The next morning, Horo invited She to gather data on the bushing contestants. Without info, betting was a losing game. There, they met a young man clad in golden armour named Gondo, a professional gambler who was also collecting intel. Since She didn't gamble like them, he excused himself to wait outside, but in truth, the next match was his and he needed to prepare. His opponent was a muscular guy named Gonzalez. Gondo's sharp eyes noted Gonzalez's high combat power, but seeing She, he was disappointed, assuming the skinny youth was just a weakling who'd fall after one punch. Yet when the fight began, it was Gonzalez who collapsed face first. The crowd erupted, claiming the match was rigged. How could a frail guy knock down a muscle beast? Meanwhile, Anne caught the swift moves of She, who landed 2 rapid punches to Gonzalez's jaw, sending him out cold. The scene was a stunning reversal, a quiet storm breaking through the noise. Gondo, the seasoned gambler, was left dumbfounded by the unexpected strength hiding beneath She's unassuming exterior. This wasn't just a fight, it was a testament to the power of underestimated resilience, the kind that shakes the very foundation of belief. And so, beneath the bright arena lights, She's journey had only just begun, where every punch was a step toward defying fate, and every glance held the promise of an awakening. If you've ever felt overlooked or dismissed, remember She's fight. Sometimes the storm comes in the quietest form. As the crowd roared in disbelief, Annie's eyes caught the truth behind the punches, 2 seamless blows that shattered expectations, proving that strength isn't always in muscle, but in the heart's fierce resolve. And maybe, just maybe, in this tangled world of battles and bets, She was the spark destined to ignite a new legend. They said tomorrow he'd face off against that dull young man, and he'd definitely claim victory. So they advised Hiro to wisely place his bets. Though Gondo wasn't exactly trustworthy, Hiro believed in him wholeheartedly. He even begged his best buddy Shit to hand over all his money for one historic gamble on Gondo. Of course, Shit couldn't just hand over cash to this gambling maniac. The next morning, Hiro's friend was pounding on Shit's door with urgent news. He told Shit something shocking. Princess Rose had stabbed her fiancé, Duke M, and then vanished without a trace. Beta and Alexia also caught wind of the news. The Princess Jose and the Kingdom of Oriana declared they'd handle the matter themselves, refusing any outside interference. Hearing this, the two grew suspicious something shady was definitely brewing. Their biggest worry, what punishment awaited Princess Rose? Meanwhile, Jose was hiding in the underground sewers beneath the capital. Alexia resolved to find Jose before the Kingdom of Oriana did, but Beta urged caution. She wanted Alexia to gather more intel before acting. Frustrated, Alexia nearly clashed with Beta because their bond as comrades wouldn't allow her to abandon Jose. Even if Beta faced danger, Alexia promised she wouldn't leave her behind. Reluctantly, Beta agreed to Alexia's plan. Alexia would hunt down information about Rose and Duke M, while Beta would seek answers from the Iris Knight Association. In truth, Beta already had plenty of intel on Jose and her fiancé, but kept it hidden to keep Alexia out of harm's way. According to reports, Jose was currently in the underground ruins beneath the capital, occasionally clutching her chest in pain. Today's newspaper boldly claimed Princess Rose had eloped with her lover after abandoning her fiancé. Shit immediately knew this was tabloid nonsense. Rose was just a background character in the grand play. But Shit was determined to find her whereabouts. Still, he worried what would happen if others misunderstood his intentions and thought he fancied the princess. Putting that worry aside, Shit ventured into the tunnels and met a fairy girl named Bick. She sniffed the air around Shit and detected the scent of the fairy clan. Bick asked if he'd seen anyone who looked like her. Seeing Bick's face, Shit was stunned. She looked exactly like Alpha, not a hint of difference. But Shit, ever the braggart, denied having met anyone like her. Just then, Bick suddenly drew her sword to test her strength. Shit recognized this scene. It was straight out of a script. He played the helpless bystander and dramatically fell. Thinking Shit was weak, Bick helped him up and apologized for her rude outburst. Above, Anne was intently watching the Bushian festival, with Quentin both eagerly awaiting the upcoming duel between the dull young man and the legendary Gondo Gold. Quentin recalled the dull young man's fight against Gonzalez the day before. He suspected some sneaky trick had secured that victory. Anne disagreed. She'd seen the young man move his right hand with lightning speed, a motion invisible to ordinary eyes like Quentin's. She believed his true power remained a mystery soon to be unveiled in the next fight against Gondo. In Bushian's history, Gondo Gold was undefeated. But whenever he faced a stronger opponent, he'd simply ask to stop the match, refusing to fight. Quentin mocked this tale, but Anne explained Gondo's keen eye could see through his foe's strength. This time, Gondo believed the dull young man was weaker, so he stayed to battle. Quentin waited to see what cunning trick or artifact the young man would use. The match began. Gondo launched his golden sword in a fierce attack, and everyone expected Shit to be cut down, but Shit dodged with graceful ease. After missing, Gondo lunged to land a blow, yet Shit merely pulled back his sword, slowly flashing a dangerous glare without striking. This humiliation stung Gondo deeply. Anne, watching from the stands, thought the young man couldn't have dodged that strike, but then she saw him shake his head at blinding speed, hearing faint cracking sounds from his neck. Quentin was baffled beyond belief. Dodging a blade with just a headshake. That was pure magic. On the arena floor, Shit remained calm, taunting Gondo, who grew furious and more determined. Gondo prepared to unleash his full power to slaughter the dull young man, using his signature move, the Demon Slayer Slash. Raising his golden dragon sword just then, the young man sneezed, sending Gondo flying dozens of meters. The entire arena couldn't believe their eyes as Gondo lay flat on his back, stunned. The referee declared the dull young man the winner. Anne had witnessed that epic sneeze, which unintentionally pointed the sword right at Gondo's face. Quentin was even more baffled, struggling to accept the young man's bewildering fighting style. He dismissed Anne's chatter while Anne kept practicing headshakes and sneezes herself, hoping to match the young man's power. But after a while, she realized she was just a silly novice and gave up. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Duke M met with Iris to discuss security at the Bushian festival. He believed tightening measures was necessary. The dull young man had left Quentin in the dust, winning effortlessly. Those who bet against him were speechless, always the underdog, yet undefeated in miraculous fashion. Meanwhile, young man Hio had lost all his bets after a few days and had to beg Jagger, working back home, for help. Inside the arena, Shit encountered Anne, who warned she knew all his sneaky tricks from the fight. Shit just chuckled and warned her back by tossing down massive iron weights that cracked the floor beneath them. He said these were what had been holding back his true strength all along. Anne was amazed but determined to counter. She proudly reenacted her headshake move, freshly learned from Shit. Meanwhile, after several days of betting, the young man Hio had lost all his money and resorted to begging his friend Jaga, who was working in their hometown, for help. Arriving back inside, he encountered Anne, who warned him that she was aware of all the tricks he had used during their battles. Hio merely chuckled and returned the favour by tossing heavy iron weights onto the floor, causing it to sink under their weight. He claimed these were the burdens that had limited his power for so long. Though surprised, Anne felt compelled to match his display, determined to refine her newfound sneeze technique. The dull young man had left Quentin face down, claiming victory with ease. Those who bet against him were left speechless, always underestimated, yet undefeated in ways no one could explain. Meanwhile, young man Hio lost all his money and had to call Jaga, who was working back home, for help. Inside, Shit met Anne, who warned she knew every trick he'd used in battle. Shit just smiled and retaliated by dropping huge iron weights that cracked the floor. He claimed these were the chains that had bound his power for so long. Anne was stunned, but resolute, practicing the headshake move she'd just learned from him. Shit thought Anne had lost her marbles and left her behind to head home. Meanwhile, Oriana's soldiers pursued Rose into the underground maze. Rose fought back with her sword, but showed mercy, dodging lethal hits. But her relentless pursuers closed in her escape, narrowing with every step. Throughout the tournament, she played the role of the dull young man, blending into the background. Now he's desperate to craft something fresh, something cool that truly sets him apart. But just as he's lost in thought, his friend Hiro barges in, pounding on the door. The moment she opens it, Hiro slaps a warrant for Jose right in his face. Turns out Hiro wants to team up to catch Jose and snag 10 million coins to fuel their betting spree. Of course, she is all in cheering the plan on. But Rose is on the run, so she refuses to join this reckless game. Besides, a girl daring enough to take down her fiancé like Rose is nothing less than a legend in Shi's eyes. At that moment, Shi spots his sister Ciel coming to visit. Not wanting to be disturbed, he quickly throws on some clothes and drags Hiro outside. Together, they embark on a mission to hunt down the student council president. Shi's burning with curiosity has Jose really escaped safely, and if they cross paths, he's determined to uncover why she dared to stab her fiancé. Strolling through the streets, Shi suddenly hears the delicate notes of a piano nearby. It triggers a memory back in his past life. Shi was allowed to learn piano. Back then, Shi had zero interest, preferring to spend his time mastering dark powers, dreaming of becoming the Lord of Darkness. But now he realizes how utterly cool it would be for a Dark Lord to perform piano under the moonlight. The thought alone makes him feel unstoppable. Among all the melodies, his favourite remains Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, the perfect anthem for a Dark Lord, no questions asked. Yet, to his shock, Shi hears someone playing that very piece in this world. He's speechless when he discovers it's none other than the war goddess wielding a fake Epsilon blade. After Beta and Gamma, now it's Epsilon's turn to cash in using Shi's knowledge. Epsilon claims that, thanks to the Beethoven pieces she taught her, she's risen to fame as a renowned composer. This newfound status lets her mingle with nobles, gathering valuable intel for their cause. Still, Shi just views Epsilon as a shameless music fanatic. Sorry to all real composers of the old world, he silently apologizes. Today, she's here seeking information about Princess Jose. Though Epsilon isn't investigating this matter, she knows Jose is hiding in the tunnels beneath the Red Capital. With this clue, Shi sets off immediately. Along the way, he compliments Philon's stunning appearance, making her blush with happiness. As they step outside, Shi spots a piano placed right in the center of a building, sensing another opportunity for some fun mischief. Meanwhile, Iris confides in Alexia about Doom's suspicious behavior. The princess starts suspecting the Prime Minister's involvement with the cult. Unfortunately, Alexia lacks concrete evidence to accuse him. During a reception, Alexia shares with Beta that King Oriana shows signs of confusion and dullness, likely struck by some sinister dark magic. Worried for her father and the fate of their kingdom, Maga Alexia leads Beta down into the underground labyrinth beneath the royal city. Beta, terrified, fears this might be a trap to eliminate her. Shit noticed the commotion in the building and sensed there would be some fun to be had. Iris confided in Alexia about Doom's suspicious actions, leading the princess to conclude that the Chancellor was undoubtedly linked to the church. Unfortunately, Alexia had no evidence to accuse him. Meanwhile, during the meeting, Alexia recounted to Beta that King Oriana had been acting dazed and confused lately. He had fallen under some dark sorcery, leaving Alexia deeply worried for her father, fearing that he and the kingdom of MGGA would become entangled in its sinister grasp. Currently, Alexia was leading Beta down into the underground labyrinth of the royal palace. Beta, terrified, imagined that this princess was plotting to eliminate her, but in reality, Alexia suspected Rose had fled into the depths, and the two were in pursuit of her. Without hesitation, Alexia made her decision, pulling Beta along. Beta found herself quite irritated, yet her duties with Shadow Garden compelled her to follow. Meanwhile, Jose was catching her breath after escaping the guards, recalling the moment she reunited with her father at the royal palace after many years apart. She had expected a joyful reunion, but upon seeing the king, she realized he resembled nothing more than a lifeless shell. Observing Dome's demeanor towards those around him, Jose quickly understood that treachery was afoot. She drew her sword intending to end Doom's life, but he narrowly avoided that lethal strike. The surrounding guards immediately accused Rose of betrayal and rushed to surround her. Now reflecting on it, Rose felt regret that she couldn't eliminate Dome. If he had perished, many issues could have been resolved, sparing nations like MGA from involvement in this turmoil. Now her father's life and the kingdom were at stake, and all Jose could do was flee alongside her. She speculated that Dome was merely a pawn of the cult. Even if she eliminated him, the cult had already woven itself deeply into her homeland. Overwhelmed by helplessness, Jose pondered the idea of escaping outside. Now, with her father's life and their country hanging by a thread, Jose could only run alongside Rose. She guessed that Doem was merely a subordinate of the Diablo's cult. Even if they eliminated him, the cult's roots had already spread deep into her homeland. Feeling helpless, Jose wondered if surrendering might be the only way out. But, recalling Shit's words, rekindled her resolve. She vowed to find a way to defeat Doom's faction and return to Shit. Yet, with the Diablo's dark curse now upon her, the bright future she dreamed of with Shit felt like a fading illusion. In the midst of Rose's despair, a haunting melody, the Moonlight Sonata, echoed ahead in the tunnel, stirring her curiosity about the pianist behind it. Upon arrival, a breathtaking scene unfolded before Jose's eyes. The pianist was Saad, also known as the Saint of Drama. His piano performance was so mesmerizing that Jose applauded non-stop, declaring it the most magnificent show she'd ever witnessed. But unlike Rose's joyful expression, Saad carried an air of authority. He asked Rose what her deepest wish was from now on. Rose replied earnestly she wanted to protect everyone and forge a bright future for the kingdom of Oriana. Understanding her unwavering determination, Saad chose to grant her his power. Whether Rose's future could truly change depended solely on the strength of her will. Bearing the heavy burden on her shoulders, Jose was ready to accept Saad's gift. The moment Saad's magic touched her, the dark curse instantly healed. Shit soon departed, leaving the battlefield for Jose to demonstrate her fighting spirit. Immediately, the Diablo's cult's minions rushed in, but with a swift and decisive sword strike, Jose vaporized every last one of them. Meanwhile, Alexia was drawn to the massive magical energy Saad had just unleashed. Upon arriving, she saw Rose slowly emerging from the tunnel. Rose avoided lengthy explanations, simply stating that she had gained new power from Saad and would now walk her own path, not wanting to drag Alexia into her troubles. Hearing this, Alexia's anger flared after all the three had once pledged sisterhood, yet Rose now treated Alexia like an outsider, refusing to speak to her. Furious, Alexia drew her sword, determined to force Jose to reveal the secrets she was hiding inside her heart. Although Alexia had grown stronger since before, it wasn't enough to challenge Jose. When swordsmanship failed, Alexia unleashed her magic in combat. Beta watched silently from the sidelines, unwilling to intervene. The battle ended when Jose carried Alexia outside and entrusted her to Beta's care. Beta admitted she couldn't stop Jose because she knew that ultimately all three shared the same goal: to annihilate the Diablo's cult. Surely they would meet again. Before Jose set out to defend their homeland, Beta wished her good luck. Meanwhile, the police were actively investigating the theft of a precious musical instrument. Shit proud after his cool performance before the seniors now faced a new challenge, winning favour with his fierce older sister Clay. Clay had been waiting all day outside their house, ready to catch him. Now, trapped beneath her, Shit couldn't escape. Clay wasn't just planning to beat him up. She wanted to see how long he could hold his breath. It turned out that before summer break, Shit had promised to return to their hometown with Clay, but his carefree nature made him break that promise. After roughing him up thoroughly, Clay gave Shit a chance to make amends. He had to use a ticket to the Bushian Festival to watch Clay compete, as she was chosen to represent the Academy instead of Rose. Meanwhile, Alexia sought out Beta to gather more intel on the Oriana Empire. Although Beta had checked out, she still left Alexia crucial information. Back at the Bushian Festival's main round, Shit used Clay's VIP ticket to sit among the high-ranking dignitaries. There he met Iris, who happened to sit beside him. Iris sincerely apologized to Shit for the previous incident involving Xenon. Shit was surprised that a princess would apologize to a commoner like him in front of everyone. Then Iris expressed hope that Shit and Alexia could get along better. Shit replied their relationship was fine, like dog and master, so Iris shouldn't worry. Though Iris couldn't quite grasp the dog-master analogy, she noticed Alexia seemed happier since meeting Shit. This Bushian festival marked Iris's first time competing. She keenly observed a female swordsman named Anne, who, despite being new, had reached the official rounds, proof of her formidable strength. Iris was determined to defeat all rivals to claim the Bushian crown this year. Sitting nearby, Shit asked if Iris had any other warriors she was watching, like the bland youth who faced Anne in the first round. Hearing bland youth, the nobles scoffed, dismissing him immediately as a lucky underdog who barely made it this far. Shich, however, was excited he was about to play the bland youth role and surprise them all. Iris added that another strong contender was a fairy swordswoman, known as Beachy, the first ever Bushin champion, who had reappeared after 10 years to challenge the new fighters. Shit, unaware of Beachy's fame, decided to seek her out. Inside, Shit bumped into Bisek carrying a load of McDonald's food just like before. Beachy asked if Shit had found anyone resembling her, but he fibbed that he hadn't seen anyone like her yet. Before parting, they exchanged a McDonald's burger as a gift tokens of friendship. Returning to Iris, Shit was surprised when the Prime Minister suddenly sat beside her. Despite Iris's polite reminders to maintain decorum, he stayed put and even flirted with her, much to her annoyance. Familiar now, Alexia brightened considerably. This year's Bushin Festival caught Iris's attention, especially a female swordsman named Anne. Despite it being Anne's first Bushin, she reached the main rounds, proving her formidable strength. Yet Iris was determined to defeat every rival and claim the championship. Shitch, sitting beside her, asked if Iris noticed any other skilled fighters, like the so-called boring youth who faced Anne in the opening round. As soon as the nobles heard boring youth, they sneered, thinking he was lucky to have advanced. Shitch was thrilled, ready to play the role of that underestimated youth and shock everyone. Iris added there was another powerhouse, a fairy clan sword saint named Beachy, the reigning Bushin champion from 10 years ago, who had now returned to compete. John didn't expect Beachy to be so famous and decided to seek her out. Inside, John met BCK carrying a mountain of McDonald's meals just like before. This time, Beachy asked John if he'd found anyone resembling her. John jokingly said he hadn't met anyone like that. Before parting, they exchanged a McDonald's burger, a small gift between comrades. Returning to Iris, the Prime Minister surprisingly sat beside her. Despite Iris's reminders to keep dignity, he stayed even flirting despite being engaged, which irritated her greatly. Dome mentioned that King Oriana couldn't attend due to health issues and hoped Iris would understand this unfortunate event. During the Bushin festival, Dome also kept an eye on Anne, hoping to recruit her to serve Oriana. But Rose wanted Anne for the Knight's Order, believing such strength shouldn't fall into the hands of a scoundrel like Dome. Iris evaluated Anne's opponent, the so-called boring youth. Though he looked frail, his eyes burned with fierce confidence, unafraid of anyone. Dome also believed in his own unmatched swordsmanship and was eager to see how the youth praised by Iris would perform. Watching Anne, John noticed the youth's lightning-fast speed but ragged appearance, more like a beggar than a threat. As the match began, Anne immediately closed in to attack. Though the youth blocked her strikes, Anne unleashed a flurry of stabs, confident she had the upper hand. Falling into the hands of a scoundrel, like Duem, Iris evaluated Anne's opponent, a rather bland young man. At first glance, he seemed weak and unassuming, but within the depths of his eyes burned a fierce confidence that dared anyone to challenge him. Meanwhile, Doem was equally assured that his swordsmanship was unmatched, eager to see how this bland youth praised by Iris would perform. Through countless observations, Anne noted that the bland youth possessed astonishing speed. However, his posture and swordplay resembled that of a beggar, seemingly unthreatening. So as the battle commenced, Anne rushed in to seize the offensive. Though the young man managed to block her strikes, Anne unleashed a series of thrusts, believing herself to be in control. But in the blink of an eye, the young man slipped behind her with terrifying speed, sending Anne flying across the arena. He always remained at her back, moving too fast for her to track. Now, Anne had to admit this dull youth was far stronger than the rules allowed. If he wielded magic, she'd have been taken out long ago. Realizing she couldn't match his speed, Anne stood still, waiting for the perfect moment. The moment he circled behind her, she raised her sword, aiming for a strike faster than his. But the youth, calm and strikingly handsome, hesitated just enough to cause her swing to miss. And that's when Anne took a blade to the chest. The dull youth had claimed victory. Watching his performance, Du and Iris were stunned, unable to believe such strength came from a nameless swordsman. His swordplay was not only unique, but breathtakingly beautiful and razor-sharp. The next match was Iris versus the dull youth, but she believed that if his skill was only what she had just witnessed, he stood no chance against her swordsmanship. Whatever strength he was hiding, Iris was certain she would win. After their talk, Do ordered an investigation into the dull youth's origins at any cost. He had to find out was this youth a pawn of the lawless city or from Shadow Garden. Anne later met the youth again despite her heavy injuries. She thanked him, admitting that he had opened her eyes. She'd been living in illusions of her own strength, underestimating others. Before leaving, Anne asked why he was so strong. The youth simply replied that he had cast away everything in search of power alone. Iris then easily won her next match. Upon returning inside, she was surprised to spot Biz and quickly chased after him out of the arena. As a reward for her efforts, BCK treated her to a McDonald's cake. Meanwhile, Shit was pleased with his own performance today, but the real climax was coming his upcoming battle against Princess Iris. He needed to plan the coolest way to defeat her. Lost in thought, Shit suddenly ran into Grey's devilish glare and immediately got hit for sneaking off before watching his sister's match. Meanwhile, Rose returned to her dorm room at the academy. After packing, she was ready for the upcoming battle with Do. Since childhood, Iris had been a sword prodigy of the Mega Kingdom, a shining talent destined for greatness. Through her journey of growth, Iris amassed countless accolades in swordsmanship tournaments. With her undeniable talent, the Knights Order entrusted her with missions of national importance. But it was only after meeting Alpha that Iris realized she was just an ordinary player. When the academy was attacked, she found herself powerless to act. Even her father's attempt to quell the cult's chaos ended in failure, leaving Iris drowning in helplessness. Determined to prove her strength could change the nation, Iris aimed to claim the championship of the Bushin tournament. The weather on the competition day was gloomy, but Shit arrived right on time. While Shit savoured a cup of coffee, Iris showed up too. Though coffee was all the rage, Iris couldn't bear its bitter taste. Shit boasted about a magical brew called milk coffee. Just add milk to erase every hint of bitterness. Just then, Bishi arrived, but security guards didn't recognise her, so Iris introduced her as the sword god of the fairy clan, the legendary Bis. Hearing the title, sword god Shit felt an instant rush of coolness. Like Shit, Bichi hid her true power beneath a delicate, feminine frame. No one would suspect she held the revered title of sword god. Meanwhile, Doeem prepared a potion to turn King Oriana into a puppet, convinced Princess Rose would come to his rescue once she saw her father's pitiful state. If Rose failed to appear, Doeem planned to manipulate her father into assassinating the king. His sinister scheme aimed to spark a massive war between the two nations. In the chaos, he'd install another puppet as the successor to King Mega, using the Bushin festival as the stage to execute his plan. Yet Doeem remained anxious. He hadn't uncovered the true identity of the dull youth, and he kept a wary eye on every move from Shadow Garden. When Doeem crossed paths with Bichi, she bluntly told him he reeked, catching him off guard. At first he was irritated, but upon learning Bichi was the sword god, fear silenced him. Her presence made his assassination plot against King Mega all the more vulnerable. Frustrated and tense, Doeem's mood darkened further when he spotted Shit awkwardly searching for a place to relieve himself. The match involving Xiao had just ended, with her victorious, and now it was Iris's turn to face the dull youth. Stepping into the arena under the Knights Order's watchful eyes, Iris sensed a dangerous opponent, but strangely she felt no power radiating from him. Confident, she decided to unleash her full strength and overwhelm him from the very first strike. But as the battle commenced, Iris's head was suddenly severed, well, not literally, but an illusion induced by the youth's subtle power threw her into a panic, instinctively retreating. Her fighting instinct screamed that she would die at his hands. No matter how she shifted her stance, Iris was haunted by the hallucination that any moment the youth's blade would strike her down. At that moment, Jose infiltrated King Mega's palace and was stunned to find the Diablo's cultists completely wiped out. Shadow Garden had cleared the path for her, paving the way for her mission's success. Meanwhile, on the arena floor, Iris's illusions intensified, paralyzing her attacks. The oppressive aura from the dull youth drained her strength until she could barely stand. Spectators whispered anxiously, unsure if the princess was gripped by fear. Desperate Iris let out a piercing shout to steady her wavering spirit. Grasping her sword and magic, she charged the youth with fierce resolve to defeat him. Yet as she neared, she realized the sword he wielded was nothing but a mirage. This youth's mere slight movements unsettled her utterly. Iris's next attack was effortlessly dodged. Soon, the youth pinned her down, pressing his blade to her throat. Only now did she understand the gulf in their strength was insurmountable. Watching his daughter's crushing defeat, King Magar's disappointment weighed heavily in the air. Doem was equally stunned that the dull youth dominated Iris, without letting her land a single hit. This youth wielded an illusion technique no magic swordsman had ever displayed. Bichi longed to face the dull youth herself to test his power. Just then, Jose appeared ready to confront the villainous Doem. Meeting her father, Jose knelt, confessing her past mistakes. Yet, as the Princess of Oriana, she stood firm in her conviction that her actions were just. Though the king's mind was manipulated, he forgave her completely. Tears streamed down Jose's face as she raised her sword and charged at Doem, who used the king as a shield. Jose's resolve was unwavering. She believed killing Doem was the only way to free her father from his control. After banishing Doem, she intended to follow him into the unknown. Doem could not allow Rose's death and sent soldiers to stop her, but the dull youth arrived just in time. With a few swift strikes, he eliminated all of Doom's troops before the stunned crowd. Shit planned to introduce himself as the Dark Lord with style, but Rose called him the Thief Slayer in a playful tone, leaving him speechless. Rose recognized him as the wielder of the beautiful sword she'd seen in childhood, the very blade that inspired her to leave home and pursue swordsmanship. Shit recalled how he once defeated a band of thieves to save Rose, earning that nickname. Now, utterly embarrassed, Shit couldn't argue. Rose only told Jose that her battle was far from over, and that she could always start anew. Jose instantly understood and ordered everyone to evacuate the arena. Meanwhile, Doem scrambled to find reinforcements against Shadow Garden's sword, only to have them all cut down. Fortunately for Doem, Bichi was eager to face Shadow himself. Seizing the opportunity, as the two strongest clashed, Doem fled the arena. He appeared convinced that this was the way to free his father from Doem's manipulation. After sending Tra away, she contemplated following him. However, Doem couldn't let Rose perish, thus ordering his soldiers to stop her. Just in time, the bland youth appeared, causing Jose to abandon his intent. With a few swift strikes, he obliterated Doem's army before the eyes of the populace. He intended to introduce himself as the Dark Lord, with flair only for Rose to humorously label him as the stylish slayer of bandits. This left him speechless. Rose suddenly recognized him as the master of the exquisite sword she had seen in her childhood. Thanks to that blade, she had abandoned her homeland to pursue the art of swordsmanship. Indeed, he had once vanquished a band of bandits, to save her, leaving her with the title of the stylish slayer. Now feeling utterly embarrassed, he found no words to contest Rose's claim. Instead, he told Jose that her battle was far from over and could be restarted. Jose quickly grasped his meaning, ordering everyone to flee the arena. Meanwhile, Doem was busy seeking allies to protect him from the blade of Shadow Garden, unaware that they had all been swiftly dispatched by Sado. Fortuitously, for Doem, Bic was eager for a showdown with Sado. Seizing the moment while the two strongest battled, Doem hastily fled the arena. It was at this moment that Princess Iris realized the bland youth was in fact Sado, the very person she loathed, now embroiled in chaos alongside Bic, turning the arena into a pandemonium. The royal guards warned that although most of the populace had evacuated the arena, the conflict could spill over into the entire kingdom. Doem fled to Oriana while the body of the neighbouring kingdom's king was being protected. Meanwhile, Bic and Sado had moved outside the city. Initially, Bic seemed to keep pace with Sado, but in a heartbeat, Sado outmaneuvered her, leaving her stunned by the ethereal nature of his movements. The way Sado moved was so surreal that Bic couldn't grasp where he stood. Even when struck away, she found it baffling that he had been right before her, only to vanish after a single raindrop fell. At this moment, Princess Iris arrived, wielding an ancient sword, intent on joining the fray. Sado teased her surprise to see the princess revered by her people now relying on relics. Infuriated by his words, Iris brandished her sword and unleashed a fiery slash towards Sado, yet no matter how beautifully she danced with her blade, she couldn't land a hit. Sado, meanwhile, commended her performance before returning to battle Bic, leaving Iris in the dust. Meanwhile, Clung crawled desperately searching for her little brother amidst the chaos, while Princess Rose, lost and bewildered, encountered Alpha. In the city, the fierce 2-on-1 battle raged on, indifferent to the frightened civilians around. Both princesses launched relentless attacks, finally knocking Shit into a half-built structure. But Shit let himself be thrown. He was hunting for a secret weapon. That weapon was the iron crowbar, the very tool that forged Shit's legendary name in his old world. Though it had been ages since he last wielded it, the crowbar still pulsed with untapped power. The brutal clash between the three shattered an entire neighborhood, proving that even without relics or overpowered weapons, Shit could counter every attack with raw skill. Clutching 2 crowbars, Shit warned, "Don't fall off this train, ladies." Standing before Rose, Alpha offered her a choice: fight alone or join Shadow Garden. Of course, Shadow Garden wouldn't save Oriana's kingdom, but if Rose proved her strength to them, they'd back her fully. After a moment of reflection, Jose chose to join Shadow Garden. Iris furious, clutching her artifact, yet unable to best. Shit's crowbar seethed. Bishix asked if Shit had ever met her before, to which he replied coldly that she wasn't strong enough to deserve a place in his memory. On the train, Shit invited the 2 girls beneath the lake's surface, where he showcased a water-based vampiric technique, forcing Iris to struggle to defend. Though Iris maneuvered behind Shit, dodged her strike, and kicked her flying into the lake. After fiercely swinging her sword, Bishix shattered 2 of Shit's crowbars, forcing him to draw his blade. While Anne dreamed of a bland young man, the other 2 continued their brutal battle, destroying yet another city block. Eventually, they ascended the clock tower, Shit praising Bishix's speed, though lamenting her lack of magic control and taking it upon himself to teach her. Just then, Iris returned, sword ablaze with fire meant to incinerate Shadow Garden, but Shit effortlessly punched the flames away and shoved Bishix toward Iris. Seeing Bishix's overwhelming strength, Iris chose to gamble her life, aiming to hold him back so Bishix could land the finishing blow. The plan was brilliant, yet as she lunged forward, Iris was swiftly knocked down by a knee strike. Bishix then channeled a massive surge of magic, closing in on Shit at lightning speed. The battle's climax was a whirlwind of power and fury, where every move carried the weight of desperation and hope. Suddenly, he dodged Bish's stabbing strike and slammed her down right where Iris stood. Then, with a powerful kick, he left the 2 girls utterly helpless, forced to endure the assault. Of course, Shit wasn't aiming to finish them off. He was merely testing their strength. But just as he prepared to leave, Iris threatened him, warning that every knight in the royal capital was being dispatched here, and the entire kingdom would hunt him down relentlessly. Hearing this, Shit laughed heartily, looking every bit the tyrant. For someone with his overwhelming power to flee from mere weaklings was nothing short of ridiculous. Finishing his words, Shit unleashed a colossal aura of dark magic that engulfed the entire royal capital. Witnessing this overwhelming force, the 2 girls couldn't believe their eyes. Shit then declared that the time had come to bring the curtain down. Alexia also recognized this overwhelming Satao's power and thought that training this way meant she'd never reach that level. Yet, she pushed herself harder, determined to protect those she held dear. Meanwhile, her elder sister Iris accepted defeat, lowering her sword before the dark magic that Shit claimed could destroy continents and shatter the heavens. Then, Shit urged the people to open their eyes wide and witness the ultimate technique he was about to unleash. One would expect this move to utterly flatten the royal capital Midgar, but instead it blew away only a storm cloud, then vanished without a trace. Iris collapsed alone, overcome with grief and helplessness, unable to capture Satao. News of Satao's retreat by Iris and Bis made the front page. When the series read this news, their grudge against Satao flared anew, as they had reported everything to the MGA leader, who was deeply disappointed at the botched operation. Back to Bis, she bid farewell to Iris and left the royal capital. Before leaving, she encouraged Iris not to be discouraged, reminding her that Satao's power was beyond the reach of ordinary people. Although Alpha couldn't find her niece, BCK felt grateful for the memories shared with Shit. At the trade guild, Gamma decided to donate funds to rebuild the academy, while the others resolved to work hard in service of the Dark Lord Satao. Their next mission was to investigate the lawless city, a place where no law exists. The academy had been repaired so students returned to their studies. Poor young Hero had to work overtime to repay a summer gambling debt. Shit's friend Yaga mentioned Satao's dark magical aura looked like hell itself, prompting Shit to vow to tone it down next time and not show off so recklessly. Meanwhile, Princess Jose was brought by Alpha to Shit's homeland, from where they would journey to the Shadow Garden base, nestled deep in the mountain. Alpha recounted how Satao had once defeated the Mist Dragon, earning the right to rule this land, an ancient city that birthed the Shadow Garden organization. Here, Alpha assigned Rose's training to a girl named Lambda. Within the organization, Rose would be known as Number 666. But before Jose could become part of Shadow Garden, Lambda slashed off the princess's clothes, even destroying the paper wrapping that symbolized Rose's bond with she. Though deeply wounded, Rose had no choice but to embrace the transformation. Joining Shadow Garden meant shedding her old self to become a powerful warrior. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord lounged playing his instrument casually. Now, having fulfilled his destiny as the Dark Lord, Shit was brainstorming ways to make an even cooler entrance in Season 2. At that moment, Denta sprinted up a tall mountain and howled loudly, signaling an important meeting at Shadow Garden's ancient city base. That's when Anne reported that after the Bushin Festival incident, both the MGA Kingdom and Diablo's Order remained silent, but recently, money has been flooding into the lawless city, a slum teeming with crime and free from law. Before that Anne finished, Satao sensed something unsettling about the lawless city's aura, causing the girls to fret, thinking maybe a bad smell clung to them. But Satao was referring to the scent of blood from the lawless city. At that moment, a red moon appeared, forcing the entire organization to bow in awe of Satao's genius. Legend says the red moon is a bad omen. That Anne wanted to investigate the lawless city further, but Satao insisted on going personally, dismissing the red moon as no big deal. That Anne obeyed and wished their master a safe journey. Meanwhile, Shit had to hurry away because if the girls started pondering the red moon's legend, things would get complicated. According to Gondo, the Red Tower is home to the Blood Queen, one of the 3 rulers of the lawless city. No one dares approach the Red Tower for fear of turning into monsters. While Gondo and Quentin hunted the Blood Queen, they encountered a strange figure, claiming to be the White Demon, once a challenger to the Blood Queen, who lost an arm and became her watchdog, tasked with eliminating fools who dared enter the tower. Yet Quentin and Gondo boldly declared they feared no mere small fry like him charging into battle with the White Demon in a fierce fight to the death. The next morning, Shit arrived at the lawless city to explore, but this time he was accompanied by his sister Clay, not alone. Shit wanted to visit the Red Tower, but their mission was to attend the Demon Swordsman Guild. Here, Shit finally had time to reflect on all that had transpired since his reincarnation. He realized that Clay and their mother had become champions of the Bushin Sword Tournament. To celebrate Gamma, threw a party for the sisters at the Trade Guild's restaurant. After the celebration, Clay dragged Shit to the lawless city to hunt vampires. True to form, the diligent sister went straight from championship to battle. Clay took Shit along as her assistant, intending for him to learn combat skills. After graduating from the academy, Clay planned to bring Shit into the Knight's Order, but Shit declared he only wanted to follow his own path. Just then, a slave trader called Clay, a beautiful lady, and tried selling exotic pets. First up was the handsome and muscular Gondo, priced originally at 30 million, but discounted to 27 million. Next was Quentin, priced at 40 million, but discounted to 35 million, including the full package. The scene mixed humour and tension, showing the strange underbelly of this chaotic city. Through it all, Shit's journey from a Dark Lord to a young man finding his own way unfolds like a storm, powerful, unpredictable, and filled with moments that pull at your soul. No need to waste shipping on these two guys. They were beaten black and blue, proving that yesterday they were savagely mauled by white demons. Clay refused to buy them because, frankly, these two were past their prime as beast slaves. It wasn't until that afternoon that Shit managed to sneak away from his sister to investigate alone. Standing there, munching on some bread, someone bumped into him and then snatched his wallet. But Shit immediately demanded it back and in a bold move swiped the thief's wallet too. By the end of the afternoon, Shit was holding a sack full of pickpocketed money. It made him feel like this lawless city was a paradise for a master thief like himself. Yet the place was riddled with violence, for example. 3 humans mercilessly beating a demon to a pulp. At that moment, Shit sensed a surge of demonic energy radiating from the moon. The demon on the ground suddenly erupted with power and slaughtered those who had attacked him. Shit realized that once-bitten humans turn into demons, and the moon only amplifies their demonic strength. Shit was torn about what to do with these demons until a red-haired girl appeared and helped him wipe them out. She introduced herself as Mary, the strongest vampire hunter here. Mary warned Shit that time was running out. If he didn't want to die, he had to run. The moon was turning red, signaling an impending riot. Mary's cool and cutting words made Shit's heart race like never before. Then Mary left Shit behind and headed towards the Red Tower. Clay was furious when he arrived at Shit's room only to find him gone. Then, a demon burst out from the next room, and Clay angrily kicked its head off. He questioned an old man about Shit's whereabouts, but the man knew nothing. Meanwhile, Shit's 2 friends sneaked into the red light district, eager to experience adult thrills. They were thrilled, convinced tonight would be their lucky night with the beautiful ladies. But their joy was short-lived as demons flooded the district. Inside a room, a courtesan named Mary heard screams outside. She thought it was a festival, but it was demons attacking the red light district. Even the old clients she was about to serve had turned into demons. Luckily, Shit arrived just in time, killing the old man and saving Mary's life. He echoed Mary's earlier warning, if you don't want to die, run, the moon has turned red, signaling chaos. After repeating this twice, Shit vanished, looking as cool as Mary had earlier. The landlady was terrified when she saw a demon lying on the floor. She warned the girl that this was just one villain causing endless misery. But to the girl, that villain was a hero. Thanks to him, she found the strength to flee this lawless city. Meanwhile, the ruler of the White Tower in this lawless city, the demon lord Jukime, received word from his subordinates. Vampires had unleashed demons across the city. As the people fled in panic, Clay held Shit's body, repeatedly apologizing. Only when Mary gently reminded him did Clay realize he was clutching the body of some random stranger, not Shit. From Clay's description, Mary recognized 2 people matching the details. First was a boy with a wicked grin, the one Mary had saved earlier. But Clay insisted Shit never smiled like that, only screamed in despair. Mary was sure Clay's younger brother was the second person, a mediocre demon swordsman captured by vampires and taken to the Red Tower. Mary's warning of the red moon and looming riot painted a grim picture of a city teetering on the edge of chaos. Her presence was a beacon of strength amidst the darkness. Clay's desperate search for Shit became a mirror of his own struggles caught between hope and despair. The fate of these characters intertwined like threads in a tapestry woven by the cruel hand of this merciless world. As vampires unleashed their horrors and demons roamed free, this lawless city became a battleground where survival meant more than just strength. It demanded heart sacrifice and the courage to face the Crimson Night. If you've ever felt lost in a world that seems to have forgotten mercy, remember this tale. Sometimes the smallest light, like Mary's fierce resolve or Shit's rebellious spark, can guide us through the darkest nights. Thanks for sharing this journey. Sacrifices are made for Queen Elizabeth of the Blood, who has slumbered for 1,000 years. To awaken her, a sacrifice is needed. Clay, hearing this, clings to hope that his younger brother still lives, and so he sets his course for the Red Tower. Meanwhile, the vampire hunter Mary is also headed there, and the 2 fierce warriors decide to join forces. Inside the city, innocent citizens are being driven madly by hordes of demons. The ruthless ruler of the Black Tower, the tyrant Juga, watches this chaos with twisted satisfaction. To him, this is the long-awaited scent of a grand battle finally awakening. Even the headquarters of the Royal Knights of Vungdo is under siege by demons. Fortunately, Sad arrives just in time to save them, not forgetting to mimic Mary's cool catchphrases from earlier. Back at the Red Tower, Crimson, a loyal servant of Elizabeth, prepares the sacrificial item to resurrect his queen. Crimson dismisses the raging war between Yukime of the White Tower and Janot of the Black Tower, believing that once Elizabeth returns, those fools will be wiped out. But the anarchy in the city isn't just a clash between Juki and Janot. Above the chaos, the Dark Lord descends from the skies to join the fray. Before the Lords of the White and Black Towers stands Saga. Sado, the shadow lurking in darkness, a relentless hunter of the dark. Once known as the White Demon, a merciless assassin who saw himself as king of the food chain, Sado lost his arm to Crimson and became the gatekeeper of the Red Tower. Now, as he watches the city drown in despair, he yearns for a little chaos. But facing the masters of the Red and Black Towers, both capable of shredding him at will, and with Sad arriving his chance to play is slim. Juga, indifferent to Sad's arrival, smashes open the Red Tower's doors in search of Elizabeth. Sad begins spouting nonsense about the moon turning red, signalling the start of a rebellion. Both the tyrant and the demon lord recognize this as the legend of the Red Moon, the harbinger of doom that once destroyed 3 kingdoms. But Sad only speaks thus because he thinks it sounds incredibly cool. As they boldly enter the Red Tower, Sado trembles in fear but mistakes Sad for a weakling and tries to challenge him to a duel. Before Sado can even land, he's struck by invisible slashes, and as he falls, he realizes he's been torn apart. The Sado Garden team led by Beta infiltrates the Red Tower's library. While Beta gathers intelligence, Clay and Mary burst in through the door. For some mysterious reason, when girls collide, they tend to grope each other. By the organization's orders, Beta must eliminate anyone who's seen her, but Clay's older sister stands before her, so Beta holds back. Beta's comrades here include 2 girls and Princess Jose. She explains that her group has no intention of fighting Clay's team. Beta is solely focused on collecting Queen Elizabeth's blood samples to study the vampiric curse. According to Beta, this curse is deeply tied to the bloodline of the vampire progenitor. Beta also knows Mary, the ancient vampire hunter, whose legacy stretches back 1,000 years. Since Beta and Mary share a common goal, they agree not to interfere with each other. Clay, however, is here to find her brother Shit and urges Mary to move quickly. Upon hearing that Shit is in danger, Princess Jose grows deeply worried, prompting Beta to remind Rose to stay calm and avoid embarrassing the Sado Garden. After Mary and Clay leave, Beta reminds the group to focus solely on their mission securing Queen Elizabeth's blood samples. Everything else is to be ignored. Clay's group ascends to the upper floors and clashes with Crimson's henchmen. Mary instructs Clay that only a strike through the heart can finish a vampire. Clay notices Mary's strange empathy towards vampires and wonders if Mary might be of the fairy race. Beta confirms Mary's 1,000-year legacy, but Mary insists Clay shouldn't know too much about her true identity. At that moment, both sense a massive surge of magic from Jot, who is casually slaughtering vampires above. Upon hearing Sado was in danger, Princess Jose displayed great concern, prompting Beta to remind Rose to stay calm and prevent Shadow Garden from losing face. After Mary and Ciel departed, Beta reiterated that their sole focus must be on the crucial task of collecting the blood sample from the Blood Queen Elizabeth, without diverting attention to anything else. The group led by Clay ascended to the upper floor, encountering some of Grimson's subordinates. Ciel recalled Mary's warning that only a stab to the heart could finish off a vampire. She noticed that Mary seemed to share some empathy for the vampires, and Clay pondered whether Mary was of the fairy race. Beta mentioned that she had been a legend for millennia, but Mary insisted she didn't want Clay to know too much about her background. At that moment, both sensed a colossal magic presence from Jot, who was effortlessly dispatching vampires on the upper floor. Witnessing Jot take down vampire after vampire, Mary acknowledged him as the strongest individual in this lawless city. She decided that she and Ciel should sneak past without drawing Jot's attention. However, he caught wind of the 2 girls behind him. He charged at them, and the tyrant's sudden attack caught Ciel off guard, sending her tumbling from the upper floor. Mary also took a hit from his blade, crashing against the wall. Though somewhat hurt, Ciel climbed back up and struck Jot in the leg, her fury ignited as he was the second person to dare hit her. Turning to Mary, she panicked upon seeing her gravely injured. However, Mary refused treatment for her wounds. She merely sought to sip some blood from Ciel, who was taken aback at losing her first kiss. After tasting the blood, Mary's power surged and her injuries healed. She rushed towards Jot, exchanging blows with him. Yet he pushed back her attack with his sword, shattering the floor beneath them. Then, unexpectedly, he circled behind Ciel, making her think this would be the end, never to meet Shit again. But just in time, Sado appeared, delivering a powerful kick to Juga's face, sending him flying from the Red Tower. Once the threat was neutralized, Shit made a cool remark echoing Mary's earlier words before vanishing. After he left, Mary apologized to Ciel for the earlier blood-sucking incident, but Clay found himself oddly charmed by it. Mary then revealed the truth about the Blood Queen Elizabeth. Over 1,000 years ago, it was an era where vampires reigned over humanity. But when humans discovered their weaknesses, they rose up to eradicate them. During that time, Elizabeth was the lord of a small kingdom. Wanting to live alongside humans, she and her followers, including Mary, decided to stop drinking blood. The outcome was that Mary and the other vampires lost their powers, but gained the ability to live under the sun alongside humans. Only Elizabeth retained her thirst for human blood, and exposure to sunlight burned her to ashes. Nevertheless, Elizabeth dreamed of transforming her kingdom into a peaceful land where humans and vampires could coexist. However, on a blood moon night 1,000 years ago, Elizabeth's inner power reached its peak. At that moment, a drop of blood fell into her mouth, sending her into a rage that lasted 3 days and nights. During that time, 3 kingdoms were wiped out by Elizabeth. To prevent this mistake from repeating, she had to sacrifice her heart, turning her into a mere shell of a vampire. Yet her physical form remained intact. The moment Elizabeth was lost, her body was seized by Crimson, who now intends to manipulate Elizabeth for his own sinister desires. After hearing Mary's story, Clay admitted he was indeed possessed by a demon. He was certain he would become a monster someday. So before that time came, Ciao wanted to take Shit to this city to help her brother achieve something significant, making him a valuable asset to society. Now that Shit was in grave danger, Ciao felt a deep sense of guilt. Therefore, Clay proposed that they join forces to defeat the one named Crimson, reclaiming Queen Elizabeth and saving Shitgrai's younger brother. Finally, the 2 clasped hands, determined to ascend the tower together. Little did they know Shit had already reached the tower's summit, preparing to claim the vampire's treasure. Gazing at the mountains of gold and jewels before him, Shit exclaimed, "What a satisfying sight!" However, since he hadn't brought a sack, he could only carry a limited amount. Shit had learned to control Slim from Epsilon, managing to carry a total of 100 million gold coins. With this fortune, he could indulge in luxury, or flaunt his wealth for the next 300 years without running out. After securing the treasure, Shit had to venture outside to seek the ultimate enemy. In a harrowing moment, Crimson extracted Elizabeth's heart and placed it into the chest of a sacrificial pawn. As he began to call out for the Queen, Shit made a swift strike, eliminating him instantly. The jester then echoed Mary's words. The rebellion is about to begin, but as he surveyed the chaos around him, Shit sensed something was amiss. The final boss loomed atop the tower, resembling a character from some twisted tale. With his mind racing, he decided it was best to gather some gold and head home for a well-deserved rest. Just as he departed the tower, Ciao and Mary arrived, only to find Crimson had vanished. Suddenly, a blood tentacle pierced through Ciao's chest, and Mary was shocked to realize that this tentacle belonged to Queen Elizabeth, who had risen anew. With a sinister intent, Elizabeth pulled Ciao Yi close, ready to drain her blood for strength. But just in time, Beta appeared, severing the Queen's head to save Ciao, then hastily feeding her an explosive to keep her at bay while they focused on healing. However, given the dire situation, mere first aid might not suffice. Elizabeth was rapidly regaining her strength, and in an instant Beta left Ciao in the care of the others, while she and the team prepared to confront the resurrected Queen. The trio worked seamlessly to dismantle Elizabeth piece by piece. Even though Beta's explosive had detonated, Mary felt it was still insufficient to challenge her. Heem had reached the tower's peak, but opted to remain an observer, believing Elizabeth was a beast too formidable to engage. In stark contrast, Xerus charged at Elizabeth the moment he arrived, but the Queen swiftly seized him, tossing him aside in a fit of rage. Unrelenting, she unleashed a rain of blood upon everyone at the tower's summit. After this devastating attack, Zotz was gravely injured, his leg shattered, while Juki remained unscathed. Beta, however, found herself bleeding heavily, and the others shielded Ciao with their bodies. Meanwhile, Elizabeth feasted on the blood of the fallen, revitalizing herself in the process. Realizing the precariousness of their situation, Beta urged Jose to flee for the sake of the nation. Beta, however, resolved to stay and confront Elizabeth. The Queen retaliated by manipulating blood to inflict a cursed disease upon Beta's group, a cruel mockery since he had once healed them from this very ailment. Ciao found herself in a dire transformation, slipping into unconsciousness. Upon awakening, she discovered a completely altered world where the Calamity Witch Aurora played the role of her caretaker. Aurora explained that Ciel's cursed condition had actually been cured by someone she knew well. Yet Ciel remained in a state of panic, bewildered by her surroundings and Aurora's identity. In response, Aurora began recounting the tale from primordial times and the evolution of monkeys, leaving Ciel utterly bewildered. In summary, Ciel's body housed two distinct bloodlines, one of the cursed and the other of the vampire. While the two bloodlines differed in nature, Ciel's body could adapt to both. Unfortunately, she lacked the control to manage them, resulting in chaos. To assist her, Aurora bestowed a portion of her magical power to help Ciel regain control over her abilities. Ciel inquired why Aurora was helping her, and the witch revealed that Ciel was very important to Shadow. Outside, Ciel had resurrected, now sharing a body with Aurora, much to everyone's shock. Aurora, having loosened a few buttons on her attire due to Gry's tight fit, readied herself to face Elizabeth. The Calamity Witch seized control of Elizabeth's blood magic, counter-attacking fiercely. Even though Elizabeth had been cleaved in two, she continued to battle Aurora with fierce determination. As the spectators watched, Aurora began to corner Elizabeth. In a moment of desperation, Aurora aimed to finish the Queen with a special technique. Beta quickly recognized that Aurora intended to mimic Shadow's ultimate move, but Ciel's weakened state prevented her from handling the immense magical energy. Despite Elizabeth's recovery, Aurora declared she had bought enough time for Shadow. When Shadow finally appeared, a trove of gold gleamed from his cloak, and he charged at the Queen without hesitation. As Elizabeth retaliated with a blood spear, Beta questioned why Shadow simply stood his ground, exchanging blows with the Queen. When Shadow defended against an attack meant for Beta, she felt a surge of happiness, believing he was protecting her. She cheered for him, unaware that he was actually focused on safeguarding the gold he had accumulated. As he lost more gold, Shadow's fury ignited and he closed in on the Queen for a close combat brawl. Elizabeth unsheathed a scythe, engaging in a high-stakes chase with Shadow through the sky. The audience below gasped in awe, for even before them stood Shadow, wielding unmatched power. Elizabeth fought evenly, refusing to back down. Sensing Shadow's desire to end the battle quickly, the Queen demanded to know his identity. When Shadow remained silent, he quietly gathered magical energy for his ultimate move. Instead of destruction like before, this time, Shadow unleashed a restorative atomic spell, reverting all demons back to their human forms in an instant. Simultaneously, Ciel and Beta's cursed afflictions and injuries were healed. The battle concluded peacefully, and each character returned to their respective homes. However, Juga, still seething with resentment towards Shadow, vowed to seek him out to settle the score. The witch's chaotic work is done, and she steps aside to let the Dark Lord take the stage. As Sad appears, his cloak brims with gold coins freshly plundered. He launches a relentless assault on the Queen, who counters with her blood spear. Beta, standing nearby, wonders why Sad stands still, exchanging blows with the Queen. When Sad blocks a strike meant for Beta, she feels protected, as if he's shielding her. Beta's heart swells with joy, cheering him on, unaware he's only guarding the pile of gold he just grabbed. Why is Lord Sado just standing there shooting at the Queen? When Sado shielded Beta from an attack, she thought she was being protected by him, filling her heart with joy. She cheered for Lord Sado, unaware that he was solely focused on safeguarding the pile of gold he had just gathered. As he lost too much gold, Sado became furious, closing in on the Queen for a close combat showdown. The Queen, wielding a scythe, engaged in a high-flying chase with Sado. Their battle drew gasps from the crowd below. Despite facing Sado, a being of ultimate power, the Queen held her own, refusing to show any signs of weakness. Sado, eager to finish the fight quickly, was asked by the Queen for his name. He remained silent, merely gathering magic to unleash his ultimate technique. But instead of destruction like before, this time Sado utilized a recovery technique, releasing a surge of magic that transformed all the undead back into humans in an instant. Simultaneously, the dark sickness plaguing Ciel and Beta, along with their injuries, were healed. The battle concluded peacefully, with everyone returning home except for Jot, who still held a grudge against Sado, vowing to confront him again in the future. The young men involved in the lawless city breathed sighs of relief, grateful to be alive. Meanwhile, Sado awaited his sister Ciel, bidding farewell to the vampire girl Mary. After this battle, Ciel had received a fragment of Aurora's power. The war of healing had finally settled into a peaceful silence, so everyone returned to their homes except for Sado, whose bitterness still burned like a stubborn ember. He plans to find and confront the boy later. Meanwhile, the young warriors caught in the chaos of the lawless city sighed with relief, grateful to still be alive. She waited quietly for his sister Claire, who had just parted ways with the vampire Mary. After the battle, Claire had gained a fragment of Aurora's power, yet she fell into the grip of delusion, convinced she possessed a unique strength. Claire confided in her younger brother, insisting she must uncover the origin of this newfound power. She understood this was just the turbulence of adolescence, affecting them both. So he encouraged Claire, promising that no matter what path she chose, he would stand by her side unwavering. Remembering Aurora's words, Claire then asked She if he knew anything about Sado. She replied dismissively that Sado was nothing but an arsonist from the academy not worth the trouble. With She around, there was nothing to fear. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth and Mary were joyfully reunited. Yet the gold She had stolen from the Red Tower amounted to only 500 coins. So Shi planned that next time he returned to the lawless city, he would infiltrate the remaining 2 towers. After all, the lawless city was Shi's personal piggy bank. Returning to the capital, Sado found a new ally, the demon fox Yukime, who was about to hatch a clever scheme with him. A band of thieves had ambushed a Mitsugi merchant train stealing cargo. The leader revealed that the merchants were selling coffee and cocoa business, booming so much that Gat, president of the Merchant Guild and MGA, found it intolerable. Furious Gat allied with the thieves to sabotage Mitsugi's trade. As the thieves confessed everything, the girls quickly gathered solid evidence. Shadow Garden immediately surrounded the bandits, who trembled in fear. Within minutes, every thief was wiped out, none left standing. After this heist, Alpha sensed more enemies lurking on the horizon. Meanwhile, Shit's 2 friends were reveling in their recent purchases of designer clothes at unbelievably low prices. However, their joy was short-lived when they discovered that the shirts they wore were counterfeit, falsely branded with Mitsugi's label. But with Shit, it was a different story. His attire was undoubtedly authentic thanks to Alpha's daily preparations. Noticing the rising trend of office fashion, like tailored vests, Shit realized that ITA was leveraging his knowledge to expand its fashion empire throughout the capital. Those who lost profits to Mitsugi must be fuming. Driven by a sense of justice, Shit decided to orchestrate a heist targeting Mitsugi to help restore fairness. Thus, a new identity emerged, John Smith, the super elite businessman. With this guise, he approached Yukimi to discuss their collaboration. Z believed this partnership would be mutually beneficial. According to the fox spirit, Gat was convening a meeting to establish a network against Mitsugi. As the Merchant Association clashed with Mitsugi Joe, and Juki saw a golden opportunity to seize control. But Yukime warned Zare about a formidable figure looming above Gat, the infamous demon sword Getten, an old acquaintance of hers. Getten was a dangerous adversary willing to employ any means to achieve his goals. With a personal vendetta against Getten, Juki was determined to confront him herself. She was eager to see which faction would emerge victorious in this intense battle for business supremacy. Gat's association unleashed a plethora of massive discount campaigns to attract customers, causing a rush of townsfolk eager to snag bargain deals. Not only Gat, but entire shopping districts launched their own sales to lure customers away from Mitsugi. Shit suspected that Alpha had overstepped in monopolizing the trade in the royal capital. As a result, major trading companies and shopping districts had deemed Mitsugi their enemy. The merchants launched promotions to lure customers, and people flocked to Gat's stalls hoping for bargains. Not only Gat, but entire shopping districts rolled out massive discounts, vying to steal customers from Mitsugi. Ji suspected Alpha had overstepped in monopolizing trade within the capital. As a result, major merchant guilds and shopping districts now regarded Mitsugi as the enemy. Just as Yukimi predicted, Mitsugi's days seemed numbered. Once rival guilds crushed Mitsugi, Shi planned to eliminate them all and create a brand new merchant guild. He would then hire Alpha as managers. Shi's goal was to reinvent Mitsugi, rebuild it stronger, starting fresh. When the dust settled, Shadow Garden would understand that Shi's way was the best path forward. While shopping, Jaeger noticed a new type of banknote issued by the Merchant Guild, whereas before most people only used Mitsugi's notes. She was shocked to discover that Alpha had expanded into banking. In his past life, Ji had knowledge of credit and banking, but he never imagined these girls would be clever enough to open a bank and issue currency. Mitsugi's money was even printed with anti-counterfeit features, but the merchant guild's bills were crude by comparison. Suddenly, she recalled a childhood dream printing endless money to spend freely. The photocopier shop owner almost punched him for saying that, so he had to give up on the idea back then. Now, however, Ji had become a savvy businessman. The elite entrepreneur John Smith of the New World decided to turn his childhood dream into reality by printing money himself. In the next meeting with Yukimi, Zed proposed a plan to multiply the money exponentially. According to Zed, the public believed those paper bills were actual currency, but he saw them merely as certificates proving deposits in a bank. The Mitsugi Guild issued paper money to collect gold, bringing them enormous profits. From then on, Mitsugi led the capital's economy. Upon hearing this, Yukimi had to admire the guild leader's cunning truly, a master deceiver. To help Yukimi grasp the plan, John handed her 2 bills. While Mitsugi's paper money was printed meticulously, the merchant guild's notes were crudely made. Yukime immediately understood John's scheme counterfeit bills, but she pointed out that since the merchant guild's money had just entered circulation, any forgery would be quickly traced back. Hearing this, the clownish John Smith was so embarrassed his hands trembled. Then he stood up and asked Yukime if she really thought that way. Under John's intimidating gaze, Yukime reasoned out the brilliant businessman's divine plan herself. In the end, she concluded John's plan was thorough with no loopholes. But John knew his scheme had already crumbled, so he left the train deeply disappointed. While merchant guilds were purging each other in the capital, Shit stopped by a street food stall for a bowl of ramen. Before he could take a bite, a familiar and insatiably greedy dog appeared begging for a share and ended up devouring over 10 bowls. The dog's scent made Denta realize Shit had just been out with a certain fox. When Shit inquired about Denta's visit, she said she came to the capital to hunt thieves, but found solo hunting dull, so she wanted Shit to join for fun. However, Shit knew Denta was summoned by Alpha and warned her to return immediately, or risk a scolding. Meanwhile, Jitan's subordinates were wiped out by Shadow Garden, fueling his fury. He decided to dispatch an elite squad called the Four Leafs to act. Meanwhile, Denta successfully convinced Shit to join her thief hunt. But Shit was only interested in the thieves' treasure, not the fight. At that moment, Denta reunited with her estranged older brother, who worked for Gan. Without hesitation, she eliminated him on the spot, saying the weak were only a disgrace to their clan. According to Shit Beastmen, clans were numerous and fiercely aggressive. Denta's clan chief father had many wives and thousands of children. Denta then proposed inviting Shit to become clan chief to defeat her father, and Shit would lead with 100 girls ready for him to father many kids. Shit immediately rejected this absurd offer. Gan received news that Shit had killed his beastman subordinate, but was indifferent considering him the weakest of the Four Leafs. After pondering, Gan decided to unite it with 3 others for a big battle against Mitsugi, whom he deemed a dangerous organization even the church feared. Gamma reported current market news to Alpha. All advantages leaned toward Mitsugi's merchant guild. Other guilds dared not hijack Alpha's cargo anymore. Just then, Nu entered and interrupted, saying the guild had strange guests assassins. Gamma volunteered to see them off, leaving everyone speechless since she was known as the worst mover in Shadow Garden. Gamma had to ask Alpha twice before he reluctantly agreed. Her 2 companions sensed trouble, but Alpha trusted Gamma because she was 17 now. The assassin's target was Gamma herself. Without delay, Gamma greeted them. Then 2 female allies swiftly took down 2 assassins. The last assassin circled behind Gamma and suddenly slapped her head hard. Gamma cried out in pain, never before hurt so badly. Infuriated, she drew her sword, forcing the assassin to dodge. But really, Gamma's swordplay was wild and unskilled. She merely enhanced the sword with magic to make the strikes look impressive. The assassin quickly saw Gamma was an amateur, yet when he attacked, Gamma screamed in pain just like before. After enough crying, she praised him for landing a hit, then swung her sword, scaring him back. Shit had seen Gamma's high magic capacity and advised her to keep pumping magic into the sword when slashing. But before she could, Gamma tripped and shattered the whole room with her sword. Though bleeding from her nose, Gamma remained confident. Meanwhile, the assassin's two teammates were already dealt with. Knowing he couldn't fight three, the assassin begged Gamma to let him go. Gamma refused and chased him, but again tripped. Luckily, her sword accidentally flew and struck the assassin, causing an explosion. The two girls couldn't believe the thug lay face down, while Gamma proudly claimed it was her ultimate skill. Getten couldn't believe his strongest subordinates were wiped out by Mitsugi, realizing the four leafs he formed were just petty thieves, no match for the knight's power. Now Getten had to prepare a new plan, all to avenge a man who'd taken his eye years ago and was now training swordsmanship diligently with Princess Alexia. Gamma stumbled again just like before, but thanks to a lucky skill, the sword she swung accidentally hit an assassin, blowing him to pieces. The two girls couldn't believe the thief was lying face down on the ground. Gamma proudly claimed that move as her ultimate technique. Getten couldn't believe his strongest henchmen were all defeated by Mitsugi. It turned out the four-leaf gang he formed were nothing but petty thieves unable to match the knight's power. Now Getten had to devise a new plan, all to settle a grudge against the man who took his eye long ago. That man was diligently training swordsmanship alongside Princess Alexia. Despite his victory and receiving John's praise, Alexia sighed after training. John noted her swordsmanship would improve greatly, but Alexia felt it still wasn't enough. She needed far more strength to save her senior Jose and change the world. If Alexia stood still, her sister Iris would only pull ahead. While Alexia felt heavy pressure, John remained carefree, and she was happy for him, wishing he'd always stay so light-hearted. But Alexia had no idea John was juggling an important task under his alias John Smith. That night, Juki's people reported to John that his requested item was ready, an ultra-high-quality counterfeit money printer made by the Zuki Merchant Guild. The fake bills were so perfect that John couldn't tell real from fake. When Juki teased if he could spot the difference, John coolly said he already knew, impressing her. Zuki planned to flood the capital with counterfeit money, but too much risked exposing their source. So she asked John to help ensure the plan went smoothly. Meanwhile, Juki wanted to personally eliminate Getten, who had stolen her loved ones before. John agreed, but warned her to stay on the right path. Alpha received news from Gamma that a large batch of counterfeit money from the Merchant Guild had been discovered in the capital. They had to use their last resort. All the shadow agents stood up, radiating danger. Then they shouted and played rock, paper, scissors to pick the three luckiest. Whether lucky or not, the next day, those three girls met two of John's friends' classic background characters, thrilled to be out with pretty girls. However, they noticed John wasn't there. Panicked, they clung to each other, sure John would arrive soon. Luckily, the girls believed them and let them off. Since it was their first date, the boys brought a legendary flirtation guide rumoured to have helped its author woo 28,000 girls. Today, these two were convinced they'd become true men. Getten, having been notified about the counterfeit money, immediately dispatched his subordinates to investigate its origins. He knew all too well that the presence of fake currency would bring ruin to both his merchant association and the Mitsugi Guild alike. Not to mention, the order itself stood to lose a massive amount of funds. Meanwhile, the Shadow Garden faction launched a raid on a train coming from the lawless city. They had caught wind that the train was smuggling stolen goods and counterfeit money into the capital. Rose's team planned to unite and capture the culprits. Upon infiltrating the train, they found it strangely deserted, no sign of life. Suddenly, ultra-thin magical threads appeared from nowhere, wrapping around the two girls and suspending them from the ceiling. Z then revealed himself, requesting permission to inspect their tickets. Despite their efforts to break free, the magical threads couldn't be cut. Only Jose remained free, forced to face Joe alone in battle. Soon, Jose too was hoisted up by Joe, just like her comrades. Before the three girls, Joe declared they didn't need to know any details, then manipulated the magical threads to hurl them off the speeding train. Jose refused to accept defeat and wanted to keep fighting, but her teammates stopped her, knowing pursuing Joe now was futile. Frustrated and confused, Jose wondered who Joe Smith really was and why she was so powerless against him. At the mention of Joe Smith's name, Alpha and Gamma both grew curious, unsure of who this man truly was. Rose quickly reported that Joe's abilities were extraordinary, rivaling even the legendary Phantom. When Jose tried to confront Z to settle the score, her teammates insisted she go home to rest. Alpha realized that the situation with Zay was critical and needed immediate resolution. However, Jetta was busy scouting the Order's bases, so Alpha decided to send Delta to eliminate Joe Smith. Meanwhile, Joe was aboard the counterfeit money train as usual. Looking outside, he spotted Delta running alongside the speeding train. Soon after, she smashed through the train car's door to confront Joe Smith. But when Delta attacked, her strikes couldn't pierce Joe's magical threads. Z, meanwhile, continued to weave his threads skillfully in the confined space, making it nearly impossible for Delta to dodge. Forced into a corner, Delta destroyed the entire train car. Delta hoped that, once outside, she could finally take down Z, but he had already taken control of the fight. In the face of a brewing storm, Alpha sensed the gravity of the situation with Zone, and decided it was critical to act swiftly. As Jetta was off seeking the whereabouts of the cult's bases, Alpha resolved to send Delta to eliminate John Smith. Meanwhile, John was aboard the train playing his usual ruse when he caught sight of Delta sprinting alongside the train. In a fierce move, she shattered the train door to confront him, but her attack was thwarted by John's magical barrier. Z dancing with agility in the cramped space made it increasingly difficult for Delta to evade, forcing her to destroy the entire train car in her pursuit. She believed that stepping outside would grant her the upper hand, yet John skillfully manipulated his powers, hurling debris towards her, immobilizing her in place. But when the familiar scent of Z wafted through the air, she clawed through the wreckage to embrace her leader. Realizing she had underestimated Delta's keen senses, Delta aimed to report back to Alpha that John Smith was in fact their superior. Under a cloak of laughter and bravado, the team prepared for their final gambit. They stood united, a dangerous tension crackling in the air as they decided to play a game of rock, paper, scissors to determine who would be the fortunate three. Whether luck was on their side remained uncertain, but the next day, the trio encountered two charming companions of Shit, reveling in the company of beautiful girls. However, it struck them that Shit was nowhere to be found. Panic set in, and they embraced each other, proclaiming that Shit would inevitably make an appearance. Thankfully, the three girls were lenient, allowing the young men a reprieve. For it was their first date, and they had turned to a secret playbook on romance rumoured to be authored by someone who had won the hearts of 28,000 ladies. Today, they believed they would transform into true gentlemen. The rope hurled the scrap metal from the ship straight at Delta, freezing her in place, unable to move an inch. Yet the familiar scent of Z stirred something deep within her. She tore through the heap of metal to embrace her commander. Shit realized he had gravely underestimated Delta's keen senses. Meanwhile, Dietar was eager to return and report to Alpha that John Smith was in fact their true leader. Beta reported to Shit about the counterfeit situation within the Merchant Guild, while Shit feigned interest, scribbling notes, while shivering from the heavy snowfall outside. Beta also mentioned that Denta might have fallen in battle against John Smith. Although Shit was trembling with fear, he insisted that Denta was merely on her way to a far-off place. Misunderstanding. Beta believed Denta was truly dead, forcing herself to hide her tears and move on. Recognizing John Smith's strength, Beta implored Shit to deal with him, only for Shit to brush her off, claiming he was too busy. He handed her a piece of paper inscribed with intricate languages, challenging her to decode it. After saying goodbye, Beta returned to John Smith, who was aboard the counterfeit ship preparing to pass through the Merchant Guild's checkpoint. Though they blocked all paths, John cleared the obstacles with his threads, allowing the ship to sail forward. Standing at the bow, John spotted a familiar silhouette Alpha had come personally to find him, greeting him with a loving message. Z skillfully maneuvered his threads to counter Alpha's attacks, and the two engaged in a fierce exchange of techniques, their prowess evenly matched. Through Z's movements, Alpha recognized him as the infamous John Smith, yet Shit declared that from now on he would live under the name John Smith, and Denta had been sent far away. Alpha's anger flared as she struggled to comprehend John Smith's intentions. Though she gathered her magical power, she couldn't bring herself to strike at her boss. Shit simply stated that Alpha would understand when everything was over. Disheartened, Alpha realized she was merely a pawn in Shit's game, and transformed her body into mist to continue the battle. In this form, she unleashed a flurry of strikes at Shit, but he swiftly caught her blade as she approached, knowing that Alpha had to revert to her physical form to attack effectively. Despite her speed in mist form, her weight was too light, With a mere push, Shit dispelled Alpha's mist, sending her flying off the train and crashing onto the icy ground. There she lay shivering in the cold night. But with Z's assistance, Yukimi managed to exchange counterfeit money for a substantial amount of gold. The Merchant Guild's treasury was likely drained, leaving them without funds to trade with the populace. Soon, the two guilds would collapse, plunging the entire nation into chaos. Zuki acknowledged that such intricate plans were befitting of the legendary John Smith. Now that the plan had succeeded, she began recounting her past to John. Once her Beastman tribe was engulfed in the flames of war. Zuki's fox tribe, though intelligent, was weak, forcing them to forge an alliance with the powerful wolf tribe. At that time, Juki was the daughter of the fox tribe's chief, and Gan was the son of the wolf tribe's chief. They married to solidify their alliance, and both shared love for one another, leading the fox tribe to celebrate Zuki's happiness. First, you must prove you deserve to stand on the battlefield. This statement irked a swordswoman like Iris, who strode forward, brushing off any greeting to Alexia. Beta was reporting to Shit about the counterfeit situation in the kingdom, while Shit pretended to listen, jotting down something important. But inside he was shivering uncontrollably from the heavy snow outside. Beta also relayed the grim news that Delta might have perished in the battle with John Smith. Although Shit was trembling, barely holding on, he insisted that Delta was merely travelling to a faraway place. Beta, convinced Delta was truly dead, swallowed her tears to bury the pain. Seeing John Smith's strength, Beta urged Shit to eliminate him, but Shit lied, claiming he was too busy to do so. Instead, Shit handed Beta a paper filled with mysterious languages, challenging her to decipher it. After saying farewell, Shit returned to reveal John Smith's identity aboard the counterfeit currency ship which was about to pass through the Merchant Guild's checkpoint. Though all routes were blocked, John skillfully used his ropes to clear the obstacles and let the ship move forward. Standing at the ship's prow, John spotted a figure none other than Alpha herself, who had come personally to find Z, greeting him with a warmth that belied the tension. Z maneuvered his ropes to fend off Alpha's assault. The two then climbed aboard, exchanging techniques with a fierce equality. Through Z's movements, Alpha realized this was none other than Lord Sado himself. But Shit declared that from now on, he would live as John Smith and that Delta had been sent far away. Alpha's fury ignited, confused by Lord Sado's intentions. Though she summoned magic throughout her body, she hesitated to strike her commander. Shit only said that when everything was over, Alpha would understand. Those words crushed Alpha's spirit, revealing she was just a hindrance in Shit's eyes. She shifted into a mist form to continue the battle. In this state, Alpha delivered countless sword strikes to Shit's body, but he caught her blade as she approached, knowing she had to return to her normal form to attack effectively. Though the mist form let Alpha fly swiftly, the lightness of her bones made her vulnerable. A single push from Shit shattered her mist, sending her hurtling off the ship. She crashed onto the rail lying there in the freezing night. Thanks to Zone's help, Yukimi exchanged counterfeit money for vast amounts of gold, draining the Merchant Guild's treasury. Now, Mitsugi's coffers were empty, with no gold left to exchange for the people. Soon, the two guilds would collapse, plunging the nation into chaos. Zuki acknowledged the brilliance of this plan. It was no wonder John Smith was so formidable. With the plan underway, Zuki began recounting her past to John. Her fox tribe had been engulfed in the flames of war. Though clever, the foxes were weak, forced to ally with the powerful wolf tribe to survive. Zuki, daughter of the fox clan leader, married Gan, son of the wolf clan leader. Their union symbolized a strong alliance, and they were deeply in love. The fox tribe celebrated Zuki's happiness, but when war erupted, the fox village was swiftly destroyed. Gan blamed the fox leader for refusing to strengthen their tribe. He ended up killing Yukimi's mother, claiming it was necessary to protect her. Then, he forced Zuki to drink a cult's potion, but she resisted and attacked him instead. Gan retaliated by sending Zuki away with her dying mother. In her last moments, Zuki saw someone defeat Gan. Luckily, she survived and rose to prominence in the lawless city. But her goal wasn't wealth or fame, it was to settle the score with Gan. Now, despite the bitter cold, more citizens flocked to Mitsugi to exchange currency, though the guild had no gold left. Inside, the mood was grim. Alpha sat quietly by the fire, eyes heavy with sorrow. Yukimi ordered her men to collect all the gold from Gitan's guild, fueling the people's outrage. The paper money was now seen as worthless scraps. Gan received word that the counterfeit money culprit was none other than Yukimi from the lawless city. Upon hearing this, Gan panicked, even hallucinating Yukimi watching him from afar. Fearful, he fled his carriage. Alpha, heartbroken, believed Sado no longer needed her. Gamma arrived with news that the Merchant Guild was on the brink of collapse, branches rioting, and the people's trust shattered. Withdrawals drained the guild's treasury further. Yet Gamma remained hopeful, confident that regaining customers' trust could end the chaos. Alpha revealed that Lord Sado himself had orchestrated the counterfeit distribution to create turmoil. Because Sado Garden could no longer meet demands, he abandoned them to walk his own path. Even Gamma was shaken, doubting this truth. At that moment, Nu entered with urgent news. Gan was the vanguard of the Diablo's cult and the mastermind behind the counterfeit scheme to topple Mitsugi. Alpha realized Sado hadn't forsaken her. She explained that Sado had created this crisis to counter Diablo's adopting a new identity and severing ties to speed up the counterfeit circulation beyond even the cult's capabilities. Beta burst in breathless announcing ITA had decoded the note left by Lord Sado. Alpha read it, tears streaming. The note revealed Sado's temporary betrayal was a ruse collaborating with an ally to produce counterfeit currency. The gold collected was hidden at a cult base, the very place where the group once rescued Kei. Everyone was awestruck. This was no ordinary plan. It was a masterpiece of sacrifice and strategy designed to protect all they held dear. Known as Lord Sado, no one expected him to weave such a grand plan. He even marked the secret stash of gold for Sado Garden to retrieve. Now Alpha recalls Shadow's words, when all ends, everyone will understand. Indeed, his calculations were flawless. Afterward, Alpha reminded Delta to go inside and greet everyone, and the whole group burst with joy, seeing Delta still alive. Delta explained she was simply busy on a secret mission assigned to her. Yet, upon returning to the Merchant Guild, everyone was deeply moved, so much that Beta was left utterly confused, clueless about what was happening. Meanwhile, their boss was busy hunting down bandits to reach the gold's hiding place. Earlier, Yukimi said she didn't need the gold, so Ron thought it might be fine if he took all of it. But when they arrived, John discovered only a counterfeit money printer, no gold in sight. At that moment, two of Yukimi's subordinates rushed in with urgent news she was fighting Getten. The moment John heard Getten's name, fury ignited within him. He was sure this guy had already beaten them to the gold stash. To John and Z, this gold was invaluable, and John swore he'd make Getten return every single coin. Meanwhile, Gan was locked in a fateful battle with Yukime. Using his Kim Mao Ninetails power, Yukime inflicted heavy wounds on him. Getten believed Yukime's strength could reclaim everything lost, yet she chose instead to take everything from him. Yukime sadly declared their story was over. Though Getten had ended her mother's life, he had also protected her and the Fox village. But now, Getten had changed. He was no longer the man he once was. After saying this, she bid farewell to Getten, closing that chapter of vengeance. Furious, Getten swallowed a potion from the cult and lunged at Yukime with a fierce slash. He confessed deep regret for not destroying her himself back then, and now he would strike to reclaim what he lost. But before he could act, Z punched him, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Yukime was stunned that John had come all this way to protect her. Getten arrogantly assumed John came only to die, but John charged at Getten, making it clear he came only to reclaim what mattered most to him. Though John's treasure was actually his gold pile, Getten thought Z had come to take Yukime from him. Yukime, believing herself precious to John, was deeply moved, seeing him as a man of true devotion. After a fierce fight, John knocked Getten flat on his back. Meanwhile, Z kept demanding Getten reveal his hidden treasure, but Getten thought Z wanted an apology from Yukime. Irritated, Getten downed more potions, only to get a swift kick to the mouth from John. Then John unleashed a relentless barrage of physical strikes, forcing Getten to speak. Despite bloodied lips and bruised teeth, Getten refused. Only now did he realize John was the monster who had stolen his eyes long ago. With his current power, Gan was no match for Zed. So Getten entrusted Zay with his treasure, Yukime pleading that Z make her happy. As Gan took his last breath, Z embraced Yukime like a true gentleman. then used his magic to heal her shoulder wounds. Thanks to this magic, Jukimi realized John was also the one who had been silently protecting her all along, a guardian cloaked in strength and kindness. In this tangled web of betrayal, sacrifice, and redemption, the bonds between these warriors reveal a deeper truth. Sometimes the greatest treasure isn't gold, it's the people we fight to protect. If you've ever faced a crossroads where love and vengeance collide, pause and ask yourself which path would you choose. And if you're lost in life's storms, remember a single light, however faint, can guide us home. Thanks for walking this journey with me. Years ago, Iris saved her in a village, and now she offers her deepest gratitude. Iris brought the authorities to capture the chairman of the Merchant Guild, who now faces charges of manipulating the currency market. Meanwhile, Juki has returned safely with her 2 subordinates. She claims that John stayed behind to bury Gan and mourn him, but in truth, Lord Z was too busy hunting for the precious gold all along. Alpha arrives to meet Juki with urgent matters. She hands Juki a piece of paper belonging to Gan, something Alpha recovered after searching his room. Alpha reveals that the Diablo's cult corrupted Gan and Shadow Garden fights fiercely to exterminate them. Meanwhile, Mitsugi has secured the gold here, and Yukimi understands that this fortune will help Alpha's Merchant Guild overcome the current crisis. Sure enough, Lord John Smith orchestrated everything to benefit both sides. Through this ordeal, Alpha decides to ally with Juki and Yukimi for mutual support in the future. Meanwhile, Shit has been tirelessly digging through snow since last night, searching for the gold Gan entrusted to him. He even invited Delta to help, suspecting Gan hid the treasure beneath the snow. Shit has dug through mountains of snow, but found nothing. After exhausting herself digging, Delta stumbles upon something, only to discover Shit has already gone home. Since it's a day off, 2 of Shit's friends come calling to drag him out for a night of flirting. But when they open his door, Shit is nowhere to be seen. Instead, they find several tickets on his bed, exclusive passes to Mitsugi's Merchant Guild resort. These coveted tickets are treasures even the highest nobles can't easily obtain. Anyone who gifts these to a beautiful girl is bound to win her heart. There are 6 tickets in total, and the 2 friends are ecstatic. Spotting Nu walking outside, they quickly try to drag her out for a date. But when Nu sees the special passes, she pulls them inside for questioning. Faced with Nu's fierce glare, the 2 guys can only tremble in fear. Nu insists that such precious tickets must belong to someone very special. She grills them about how they got the tickets and calls in 2 more women, a sharpshooter and a sword cleaner, to ensure the guys don't lie. Yet the 2 still bluff that Shit gave them the tickets to take girls out on dates. Of course, Shitch is also at the resort. Nu mistakenly believes Lord Sado plans to gather the whole organization here for an important meeting. So she rushes back to the Shadow Garden base to inform everyone, warning the 2 guys not to leave their spot. Soon after, the entire team convenes to discuss the matter. According to Yi, the Mitsugi resort opens this week themed around the legendary Dragon's Tears. Yi plays a clip from the past when Shadow Garden defeated a band of mysterious thieves, one of whom mentioned Dragon's Tears in this land. Hearing this, the young Sado seems to realize something fascinating. He orders the girls to excavate the surrounding area to uncover Dragon's Tears. Shadow Garden then leaves for an important mission, leaving the group to clear snow for days without a trace. Just as spirits wane, Ita drills into a hot spring vein underground. Alpha decides to build the resort around this hot spring, yet no clue to Dragon's Tears surfaces. Alpha hopes that a date with the boss at the hot springs might unlock secrets, but with only 3 tickets left, only 3 lucky girls can go. Nu expects to be chosen, but gets a few sharp jabs from Alpha instead. Alpha clearly doesn't want to share this chance, not even with the other girls in Shadow Garden. Everyone wants the boss's attention, so they resort to a final showdown. The entire team stands tall, looking fierce. Then they all scream and play rock, paper, scissors to pick the lucky 3. Whether luck or fate, the next day, those 3 meet, Shit's 2 friends, typical background characters, ecstatic to spend time with beautiful girls. But neither friend spots Shit. They panic and cling to each other, convinced Shit will show up soon. The girls believe them and let them off the hook. Since it's their first date, the guys pull out a legendary pickup manual, rumoured to have helped its author charm 28,000 girls. Today, they're determined to become true men. Meanwhile, Shadow Garden prepares swimsuits for the resort trip. The stakes were rising, and the team felt the weight of impending danger as they stood together in unity. With a collective shout, they engaged in a game of rock, paper, scissors each, hoping to be among the chosen three. Whether fate was smiling upon them was still a mystery, but the following day, all three girls found themselves mingling with two of Shit's comrades, their camaraderie sparking delight. However, an unsettling realization dawned on them: Shit was absent. In a fit of anxiety, they clung to each other, fearing that Shit would soon make his entrance. Luckily, the trio of girls showed mercy and spared the two boys, granting them a chance to breathe. With this being their inaugural date, they resorted to a secret dating manual, said to have been crafted by someone who had wooed 28,000 women, believing today would mark their transformation into true men. After relentless battles, Alpha believes Sado granted this rest to recharge their spirits. Suddenly Y arrives, sensing a magical disturbance deep underground. Meanwhile, the two guys' date fails as the girls sneak into the women's bath, leaving them stranded. Undeterred, the guys plan to spy on them. Nearby, the girls seem relaxed, unaware of the tension brewing beneath the surface. At this moment, the Seven Shadows crew was changing into their swimsuits, getting ready to dive into the resort's embrace. Each of them seemed to carry a silent hunger to be noticed, to stand out in the crowd. Alpha sensed a storm brewing, a shadow of trouble on the horizon, urging everyone to steel their spirits. She forbade anyone from dressing too revealingly wary of unwanted eyes. No sooner had they stepped inside than Denta and Jetta found themselves ranked low in the social hierarchy. They passed time with a volleyball game, and, in a fierce spike, Jetta accidentally struck a young hero, sending him plunging into the pool. Meanwhile, Beta sighed deeply. Her boss had yet to arrive. The other girls basked in the rare joy of this getaway. It had been ages since they'd all been together, away from endless battles. Alpha believed Sardau had gifted them this moment of respite. Suddenly, Yi appeared, alerting everyone to a surge of magical energy emanating deep underground. Meanwhile, the two young men's date had flopped as the trio of girls slipped into the women's bath, leaving them stranded. Yet, undeterred, the two resolved to spy on their quarry. On the other side, the three girls were deeply engrossed. While Jetta wonders about the legendary dragon's tears, he recalls the tale of a princess who saved a dragon, forging a deep bond with it. But when war struck, her kingdom was devastated. In her final moments, as she wept, the dragon cried alongside her, flooding the kingdom. When the princess awoke, surrounded by a rejuvenating hot spring, she called for her dragon, but it was nowhere to be found. The story concludes, earning thunderous applause, while the boys struggle to climb up for just a glimpse. As they enthusiastically try to peek, Y's smoke canisters unleash a cloud of irritants, making Yaga tear up and drop a single tear into the pool. Instantly, she realizes a strange, magical presence nearby. Her tear and the spring water have reacted. Delta, upon hearing this, activates more smoke canisters, but this time the magical response doesn't escalate. Suddenly, Jeta recalls that the tears of the princess, not a mere man's tear, are what legend spoke of. Thus, they decide to use the fairy princess Beta as their experiment. Conveniently, this also presents an opportunity for Y to settle a score with Beta, who is often insufferably pretentious. They hang Beta upside down and start tickling her, causing her tears to cascade into the spring, shaking the whole resort. This commotion quickly draws the attention of the guards, who rapidly gather to evacuate the citizens as the dragon reappears. To protect their identities, as Sado Garden, the seven quickly donned their battle attire. All the girls rush in to confront the dragon spirit, though in truth, Gamma has been face first in the ground for quite a while now. After a fierce battle, Alpha delivers a final blow, bidding farewell to the dragon. Suddenly, a girl falls into the hot spring, shaking the entire resort. Shadow Garden quickly assembles to evacuate the civilians as the dragon emerges. To conceal their identities, the seven switch into new battle gear. The girls charge at the dragon spirit to defeat it well, all except Gamma, who faceplants early on. After a fierce fight, Alpha delivers the final blow, bidding farewell to the dragon. As the dragon vanishes, a shower of golden dragon tears rains down on the resort. Y discovers the magical rain enhances the hot spring's beauty and health benefits. The dragon then bids Princess Beta goodbye, soaring into the sky and disappearing from sight. After the Dragon's Tears event, the story leaves us wondering what new mysteries and bonds await the Shadow Garden team next. Gamma took the chance to sell souvenirs to the guests, her heart swelling with joy seeing the resort untouched by any serious damage. Watching everyone relax and savor the moment filled Alpha with happiness, silently thanking Saad for gifting the group this peaceful vacation. After leaving the capital, Shit traveled far and wide seeking chances to reflect on himself. Up to now, he's played the Dark Lord, many times stirring whispers among the people. Yet sometimes, Shit wonders what it truly means to be the Dark Lord. It feels like something's missing a spark to make his role more badass. Otherwise, he questions if his life is truly okay. Mary, hearing this, quickly answered for him, definitely not okay. She also reminded him that giving up is absolutely forbidden. Feeling he's already had enough fun, Shit resolved to do something meaningful next. Princess Rose lately hasn't been stepping outside much, staying holed up in her room repeatedly apologizing. She's haunted by the trauma of having ended her father's life a shadow that casts frequent nightmares, leaving her drained. At first, she thought joining Shadow Garden might let her serve her kingdom, Oriana. But her homeland still burns in war and chaos. Just then, her teammates roused Jose to prepare for today's mission. The trio was to meet with a girl named Victoria, designated number 559, at the military council. Yet they sensed Jose was holding a weighty secret. That night, the three girls travelled to meet Victoria and take on the mission. Victoria revealed that the Star Fortress had fallen into the hands of Dome's gang 3 days ago. To seize the fortress, he enlisted the Diablo's Order's elite squad. Rose's heart ached witnessing the Oriana soldiers' defeat. Victoria said she chose Jose specifically because she's Oriana's princess and was personally granted power by Shadow. Victoria herself also received strength from Saad, but she saw Rose as too weak to be useful in their ranks. At that moment, they spotted a horse carriage entering the ruins. Jose explained it was the resting place of warriors who once fought the Diablos. Inside, the group discovered the cult performing a dark ritual. When the leader inserted a card into a device, Jose recalled the scientist from the goddess trial. Suddenly, a magical circle burst forth, and the cult summoned Jose's mother, leaving her bewildered. When the queen touched the magic circle, she unlocked a ring brimming with power. Victoria commanded everyone to prepare for action. Though officially just an investigation, Victoria was determined to seize that ring. Jose refused, insisting her mother was still there. Ignoring Jose's protests, Victoria charged forward to eliminate the cult. Victoria's first target was the queen, so Jose intercepted her with her sword. Seeing her daughter return, the queen embraced Jose, pleading for help. Meanwhile, the cult rejoiced over the sudden internal strife within Shadow Garden. Victoria didn't hesitate to punch Rose, sending her flying several meters, declaring Rose unworthy of Lord Saad, and vowing to purge her. Gamma received news that Victoria's investigation team had switched to combat mode. Unrestrained and reckless, Victoria dragged the whole team into grave danger. The tension was thick, the stakes higher than ever. Reports flowed back to Gamma at the ruins, where many high-ranking members of the Diablo's cult had gathered. Yet the mysterious 9th Round Table Knight Morez had not yet appeared, so Gamma let Princess Rose fall into the cult's hands, hoping to draw him out. Since Rose arrived at Shadow Garden, events had accelerated rapidly. This was clearly a chessboard set by Lord Shadow himself. Amidst the brewing war, Shit wore a satisfied grin. These chaotic times were the perfect stage for the Dark Lord to make a grand entrance. While Shit read the news, Mary busied herself preparing breakfast. Seeing the turmoil in Orion Kingdom after the king's death, Shit deemed it logical that the new king would be Jose. But why had she turned on her own father? Reflecting on Jose's determined gaze before the act, Shit understood she was ready to do whatever it took to become queen. So Shit vowed to back Jose's rise, wholeheartedly crafting a plan for the Dark Lord's role to unfold. But just then some thugs interrupted Shit's thoughts. They were extorting Mary, demanding bribes to let her conduct business. When she couldn't pay, they forced her to pay with her body. Seeing this, Shit stepped in as an ordinary bystander, warning the thugs to leave Mary alone. The fight that followed left Shit battered, his pants torn, and mouth crooked. Mary, hardened by years as a prostitute in the lawless city, thanked him and left him behind. Over days, Shit did everything to support Jose's ascent, first going to prison, to experience a convict's life, then escaping to join Orion's volunteer army. Yet all his efforts seemed fruitless. Suddenly, overhearing those same bullies talking, Shit silently took down 2 of them. The last one, unaware of what was happening, only realized his fate when Shit slipped money into his bag before swiftly ending him. Meanwhile, Mary, out of money after being exploited, planned to return to prostitution. At that moment, Mary heard a noise outside. Stepping out, she found a bag of money left for her. A gentle breeze whispered that Shit was still watching over her, never far away. Back to Victoria, she had fought alone for 3 relentless days and nights against the elite cult army. Even when reinforcements came, she sliced through them all without a single miss. But the leader was still alive, exhausted and drained of magic. Victoria endured brutal beatings from him. Just as he was about to deliver the fatal blow, Sado appeared, igniting a fire within her. Fueled by Sado's power, Victoria's severed arm regrew instantly. The stunned enemy barely had time to react before she ended him with a single strike. Seeing Sado standing under the moonlight, Victoria's admiration exploded. To her, he was a living god. The other girls, loved and protected by Sado, carried on as if nothing had happened. Victoria was overjoyed Sado had come to her rescue. She reported to her master that number 666 had betrayed them. But Shit, clueless about who 666 was, assumed it was one of Gamma's men. Tired of betrayals and internal conflicts, Shit barely cared anymore until he read a shocking announcement: Princess Rose was to be married. Fury erupted within him, magic spilling out uncontrollably. He swore vengeance for this betrayal. Shit had always believed Rose killed her father to claim the throne. Yet now she was abandoning that destiny to marry some nobody. The grand saga of Queen Rose Shit had dreamed of was crumbling. Determined, he vowed to find Rose himself and crown her queen. The Sado Garden team arrived in Orion Kingdom to set their plan in motion. Lambda informed Gamma's subordinates that Rose had betrayed the cult and become an enemy. As Rose's trainer Lambda wanted leniency, but they revealed that this matter was beyond their control. Lord Sado himself was on his way to judge Rose's crimes. None of Orion's power players could stand against him. They feared José's fate would be tragic. In truth, Shit was here just to stop the wedding. A determined soul like José marrying unthinkable. In Orion's capital, Shit met Epsilon and her 2 massive slims. She was invited to perform at Princess Rose's wedding and to spy on their enemies. Yet now Philon clung to Shit's arms, clutching fake oranges. Shit knew they were counterfeit, but admired Epsilon's effort as she manipulated magic to animate them. She reported that Sado Garden had infiltrated to watch José. At that moment, Doem arrived, greeting Epsilon. When Doom learned Epsilon wanted to play music for José, he revealed the princess was unwell and couldn't attend the concert. Shit saw Doem was a classic villain. If he didn't die soon, Shit's acting career would suffer. When Dome asked about castle entry papers, Shit had none. To stay, he had to perform a song. Shit dove into his role as a commoner musician, while Epsilon gleamed at the prospect of seeing her master perform. But they confided in Lambda that this matter had slipped beyond the Seven Shadows' grasp. Sadao himself had set out for Oriana to judge Rose's crime. Before such a figure, no power or authority could stand. They feared José's fate would be tragically sealed. Yet in truth, Sadao's arrival aimed only to halt the upcoming wedding. For a soul as resolute as José marriage was simply unacceptable. In Oriana's capital, José met Epsilon and 2 peculiar fruits. It turned out she was invited to perform at Princess Rosalwa's wedding and to spy on their foes. Meanwhile, Philon clung to Sadao, clutching 2 fake grapefruits. Sadao recognized the counterfeit but admired Epsilon's diligent magic manipulation. Epsilon reported that Shadow Garden had infiltrated the scene to monitor José. Just then, Doam arrived, greeting Epsilon. Upon learning she intended to play a song for José, he declared the princess was unwell and couldn't attend the concert. Sadao saw in Dome the archetype of a villain. If he survived, Sadao's path as a performer would only grow tougher. When Dome asked for castle entry papers, Sadao lacked them. To stay, he had to perform a piece for Dome. Seizing the moment, Sadao transformed into the role of a humble townsfolk musician. Epsilon was thrilled and eager to witness her boss's talent. Observing the surroundings, Sadao noticed nobles flaunting gold and silver while the common folk suffered. This time he vowed to become an agent of justice, avenging the kingdom's people. He began playing the Moonlight Sonata, enchanting every listener. As Epsilon snapped pictures frantically, Sadao stealthily used Slim to pilfer the noble's jewels. When the final note faded, applause thundered around him. Meanwhile, Sadao's pockets filled with precious treasures. Then his sharp eyes caught a strange ring in Duem's possession. With a flicker of magical threads, he deftly stole the ring, his silent rebellion against the aristocracy's cruelty. Sitting alone was boring, so Shit felt compelled to drag Zon on a tour of the castle. Suddenly, the maid Margaret appeared, demanding to be taken along. Seeing Margaret's genuine spirit, not a fake, like Epsilon, Zon agreed to go with her. Margaret confessed she was impressed by Shit's recent performance, pressing her body close to him, hinting that if he became an artist here, he'd earn a hefty salary. Margaret even promised to pay Shit 70 million a month if he performed at her house. But when a chubby young man noticed Margaret's closeness to Shit, jealousy flared. Shit sensed this guy's attacks were a bit too strong, so he stepped back and asked if Margaret was Princess Jose's maid. At the mention of Jose, Margaret revealed her deep hatred for the princess. She used to serve Rose until the princess went abroad to study, but it was Rose who plunged the Oriana kingdom into chaos. Everything about Princess Rose was a secret Margaret had to keep. Still, if Shit wanted to know, she'd share a little, though her relentless attacks forced Shit to defend himself. However, that chubby guy from earlier blocks his path, claiming to be a kingdom knight, though his belly looks ready to burst. In truth, this guy envies Shit for capturing Margaret's heart and uses this as an excuse to confront him. He even boasts about their supposed deep romance, bragging he visits the flower garden daily to confirm Margaret's feelings. Just seeing her shyly look away fills him with satisfaction. Shit shudders at this ridiculous display and quickly makes his escape. He never imagined young love these days could be so absurd. Meanwhile, imprisoned in the tower, Jose recalls recent events. She suspects Shadow Garden has given up on betrayers like her, while the Diablo's order almost dominates Ariana. Soon, this land will be a battlefield for these two factions. While Rose worries, she spots Shit climbing outside the balcony. She rushes to embrace him after their long separation. For the first time, Shit brings up the marriage issue, but Rose refuses to discuss it. She's already decided to wed the Duke's younger brother. She begs Shit to forget their past. Shit, chewing gum and holding Jose's hand, pleads for her to reconsider. He understands Rose's heart and emotions better than anyone else. Even if her path is lonely, she lives true to her beliefs. Shit is much the same, harboring childish dreams no one else understands. Hearing this, Jose encourages him. No matter how the world rejects him, she treasures his dreams above all. Shit realizes they both live by their own truths. But Rose has strayed from hers. She has killed her own father and even tried to poison Shit. So why would Rose surrender herself to marry a man like that? It's like walking against her own nature. Rose, having nothing left to say to Shit, tells him to forget her and live happily. Despite Shit's pleas, Jose won't change her decision. The Duke's younger brother seems to have overheard Jose's conversation and confronts her. Rose pushes his hand away, refusing to let him touch her. This infuriates him, and he warns that the Queen's life is in his hands, so she must obey him. Meanwhile, Shit inspects the younger brother's ring, assuming it's an engagement ring, and feels guilty toward him. After Rose's ordeal, Epsilon praises Victoria's loyalty and announces plans to position her right behind him, soon recognizing her unwavering dedication. At first, Epsilon never expected Rose's mother to appear at the ruins, sparking the chain of events that led Rose to betray the organization. Now Lord S.A. has taken on Rose's case, the pressing issue the ring found at the ruins. According to Epsilon, this ring is dangerously powerful. Legend says it wiped out 50,000 soldiers in a single night. Its strength is utterly destructive. It obliterated the entire Oriana Empire. Just as Shit finished bathing, Epsilon immediately served him milk coffee. While she rubbed Shit's shoulders, Victoria eagerly joined in offering fruit. Surrounded by such care, Victoria felt on top of the world. Hearing Shit say the situation here was about to be resolved, her admiration for Lord S.A. only grew. Meanwhile, Morris contacted Duem to check on progress. Duem reported that the ring was always on him, so everything was going according to the cult's plan. But in reality, the ring had long been lost, though Duem believed it was still locked away. He even casually prepared to enter Rose's mother's bedroom. Jetta led Shadow Garden agents to attack a cult base, aiming to find the mysterious assassin known as the Vietnamese demon sword Moor. After investigating the base, Jetta concluded the Oriana Empire was on the brink of disaster. Suddenly, an assailant struck from behind, but she swiftly turned and severed his head. She believed everything must follow Lord Sez's will. Today, Epsilon was scheduled to play music for the nobles. She also came to observe, but was quickly approached by the maid Margaret, who flirted and told she not to worry about the chubby guy from yesterday, because she herself would protect him. Seeing his boss being hit on by someone else, Epsilon sat beside her to spar verbally with Margaret. She, caught in the middle, was speechless at their banter. With no choice, he left a dummy for them to cling to and went out to perform. Wearing only shorts and a tie, his audience clapped wildly as if he were a superstar. While Shit dressed, Epsilon reported an important phenomenon: the Black Rose had transformed the entire kingdom. At the mention of the Black Rose, Shit assumed it was the symbol of the volunteer army's Black Rose, but reconsidered it must be something else. Shit expressed a desire to see the Black Rose once. Though intrigued, he had to find the Oriana Queen first. Yet Shit was stunned to discover she was Doem's lover. These two had conspired to betray the king and his daughter, Princess Jose. After eliminating Jose, they planned to marry openly. Learning this, Shit thought this was the biggest drama in the world. If Jose knew, she'd erupt in fury and become a tyrant, deservedly so. Meanwhile, Jose prepared her final moments before marrying Doem, having lost her father once she desperately wanted to save her mother. At this moment, Lord S.A. appeared in her room. Seeing Jose's tea, he drank it to quench his thirst. Rose then apologized to Lord S.A. for betraying both him and the organization, but S.A. coldly told her he would show her the truth. Rose witnessed her mother lying with Doem and saw how they had betrayed her father. The horror made Rose violently sick. Shit expected this revelation would awaken Rose's fury and transform her into a tyrant, but instead she fainted. She felt a pang of guilt for Rose's suffering. Though Rose regained consciousness, she remained deeply shocked by the conspiracy to overthrow the kingdom. She longed to return to her past. Hearing music from the balcony, Jose, exhausted, walked over. Seeing Shit playing Rose, suddenly proposed they run away together to a place where no one knew them. Burdened by guilt and betrayed by her mother, Rose only wanted Shit by her side. Shit reminded Rose the world was divided into two halves: what mattered most to oneself and everything else. With limited time and energy, he focused only on what was important to him. Deeply moved, Rose thought she was that important thing. But when she looked again, Shit had vanished, leaving behind a mysterious ring on the chair. Rose wondered about its meaning. Meanwhile, Shit, fresh from the bath, found the ring had slipped from his pocket without him noticing. Perhaps Falon was once again playing the lucky girl role, massaging his back. Shit noticed Epsilon's slim mountain pack had evolved miraculously. He praised her, saying she was nearing the top tier. Proud to hear this, Epsilon prepared for the decisive battle at Jose's wedding, where the tyrant was sure to appear. That very night, the people protested Jose's wedding and demanded the parliament's dissolution, declaring Rose unworthy of her princess title. Outside the unrest, Doem rejoiced his plan succeeded. By marrying the princess, he could claim the sacred ring. But when he opened the box, the ring was gone. Thinking he was hallucinating, he opened and closed it multiple times, but the ring never appeared, plunging him into despair. He searched everywhere on his person, but found nothing. Moras contacted him again, saying he was about to secure a seat at the round table, but without the ring, he had no claim. At this moment, Rose stepped onto the altar in a splendid bridal gown, calm and composed, while Doem frantically searched his body. Even as the priest began the vows, he was distracted by his search. Epsilon had truly reached the level of the genuine article and basked in Shit's praise. Shit reminded her to prepare for the decisive battle at Jose's wedding because the Overlord would surely appear that day. Meanwhile, the people protested the wedding, demanding the dissolution of the council, claiming Princess Rose no longer deserved her title. Outside the chaos, Doem rejoiced his plan succeeding. By marrying into royalty, he could claim the sacred ring's power. But when Doem opened the box, no ring appeared. Thinking he'd lost his mind, he opened it repeatedly, yet still nothing. Panic gripped him. He searched himself frantically but found no ring. Moans contacted him, saying Doem was about to earn a seat at the round table, but without the ring, he had nothing. At that moment, Rose stepped onto the altar, radiant, in her bridal gown, steady as a mountain. Dome continued his desperate search even as the priest began the vows. Rose declared she had nothing to say. She was the assassin who betrayed the king and the kingdom with no excuses. Right there, she exposed Dome as the traitor who colluded with the queen and manipulated the king to overthrow the realm. Dome accused Rose of mockery, demanding she hurry with the ceremony. But Rose pulled out the heirloom ring and slipped it onto her finger. A surge of magic radiated through the hall. A recorded message from the late king played, revealing how a mysterious poison drained his mind. Though the queen tried to swap his meals, it was useless. The true culprit was Count Dome. Nobles recoiled, severing ties with Dome. The king's final words entrusted everything to his daughter, Rose urging the people to trust her guidance. The future of the kingdom now rested on Rose's shoulders. Despite this, Dome saw it as a farce, but even his own men turned against him, branding him a traitor. Rose drew the royal sword, declaring Dome's execution. Before she could strike, Dome was cut down on the spot. Even the queen shared his grim fate. At that moment, Morez appeared, sealing the chapter with justice served. Though the king spoke with such faith, Duem still treated it all as a joke. Yet even Duem's own subordinates stepped forward to accuse him of treason. As for Rose, she drew the royal sword and declared Duem's execution. But before she could strike, Duem was cut down on the spot. The queen met the same grim fate. At that moment, Morez appeared in the hall. After dispatching 2 useless henchmen, Morez greeted Jose before activating a device that sent a signal to the ring on her finger. Moments later, the ring unleashed a surge of magical energy into the sky, opening a portal. Morez explained this was the legendary Black Rose, the very power that wiped out 100,000 warriors in a single night. And now he intended to wield this devastating force. From the portal emerged a monster named Ragnarok, which Morez summoned. With a single strike, the beast ravaged a vast area of the capital Oriana. But just as it prepared to unleash its next attack, Sadao appeared, severing one of its massive arms, causing it to roar in agony before the astonished onlookers. Sadao declared that both the Black Rose and the creature were nothing but ugly monstrosities. Meanwhile, in the capital, Mida Alpha received news of the Black Rose's emergence and felt an urge to rush to the scene for some fun. However, Alpha reassured her that Sard was already there. At this moment, Ragnarok summoned even more monsters, while Mez praised Sard for injuring Ragnarok. When Morez asked who Sard was, he had all his subordinates stand declaring, "This is Shadow Garden, the shadow lurking in the dark." Sard instructed Rose to proceed ahead, for she had important tasks to fulfill. As for the massive beast, Shit immediately took to the skies and delivered a punch right to its mouth. Morez, believing Sard to be a fool for challenging Ragnarok, soon found himself in disbelief. Morez warned to measure one's strength before challenging Ragnarok, but that Anne retorted that soon Morez would learn who the real fool was. This angered Morez, who unleashed invisible sword strikes at Epsilon. She effortlessly dodged and exposed Morez, revealing that his weapons and armor were relics stolen from other clans by the cult. The sword in his hand was forged by a legendary blacksmith who gave his life for it. Both Beta and Epsilon vowed to claim his life to reclaim that sword. They also vowed to force him to reveal everything he knew about the Diabos cult, the monstrous creatures summoned by Ragnarok. As the beasts scattered to prey on the city's people, Rose and the Shadow Garden members swiftly swept them away. When Margaret arrived, Rose entrusted her with evacuating the civilians. Though they had clashed before, Margaret now respectfully called Jose Your Majesty and obeyed her orders. While fighting Ragnarok, Ship marveled at the sheer magical power and strength of this offspring, far beyond imagination, truly worthy of being a monster from another world. Yet Shit was disappointed by its somewhat clumsy attack style. He then struck it from above with his web-like threads. The Shadow Garden members in Jose's team supported her fiercely. Even the Round Table Night Maw was brought to Jose by Beta and Epsilon. Though beaten to near death, he remained confident that the Ragnarok monster was unbeatable. Of course, the 2 girls thought he was just delusional. Now they demanded Moore spill everything he knew about the Black Rose, the Ragnarok monster, and all the secrets of the cult. Moore, having time to spare, began to enlighten everyone about the Black Rose. He explained that beyond their current world existed many others, countless dimensions collectively known as the Demon Realm. These worlds always revolve around a fixed central point. The moment these worlds collide is when they connect. In the past, this world had no magic. But when it collided with the demon realm, magic appeared. In other words, magic is the power drawn from the demon realm. Thanks to magic, humans were able to defeat giant creatures that once terrorized them. And ruling this world isn't just about magic power. Countless other forces have flowed from the demon realm into this world. Hearing this, Mores wondered if the demon god Diablos truly originated from the demon realm. Even Mores admitted that Diablos indeed came from another world. Thanks to this, the cult gained vast knowledge from Diablos. Now, everyone finally understands that the Black Rose is actually a gateway leading to the demon realm, or what some call different worlds. Long ago, King Oriana accidentally opened this portal to the demon realm and unleashed 100,000 enemy troops. But the monsters flooded in so fiercely that even Oriana's people were slaughtered. So the cult sought a way to close the portal and save the kingdom. Now Mores wants Jose to use his royal bloodline to repay the cult. Naturally, Jose flatly refuses, not about to obey that demand anytime soon. Just then, Ragnarok's arm crashes down right by Mores, while above, Shit uses a chain to bind the monster and then slices it to pieces. Watching Ragnarok fall so easily leaves Mores speechless. This monster was a legend from another world. Hearing Mores scream and wail, the girls can't help but pity him. If only he had a fraction of Lord Sardau's wisdom, maybe he wouldn't be this pitiful. Unexpectedly, Mors crawls into Ragnarok's flesh to fuse with her Shits, while Shit surveys the area for more opponents. Then Mez appears having successfully fused. Seeing Mez's form, Shit can only sigh in disappointment, calling him a complete failure. Mez, stung by this insult, immediately attacks Shit. But after a brief chase, Mez admits this guy is even weaker than Delta in strength. Shit sends him flying through the air, repeatedly, even pushing him beyond the clouds, landing relentless punches. When Mez tries to counterattack, Shit vanishes only to appear behind him, starting a rambling lecture on nuclear weapon theory. This power is terrifying, capable of returning the Earth to its primordial state. Then, Shit conjures a magic circle around Mez and declares the game over. Mores hasn't even processed what's happening when Shit unleashes his destruction technique, making the entire solar system blaze brilliantly. This radiant light illuminates the land so clearly that everyone can witness it. Faced with their leader's overwhelming power, the Shadow Garden girls are awestruck, then gleeful as Shit returns to Earth. But right then, the Black Rose appears behind Shit, generating a powerful suction. A young man foolishly reaches out and gets sucked inside. Even Chose's ring shatters unexpectedly. Meanwhile, modern-day Japan lies in ruins. Nishino, now a 20-year-old woman, oddly still in her school uniform, wonders why the real world has turned so bleak. Tonight, Nishino decides to leave her home and act alone. Though much time has passed, every bright moon reminds her of S.H. or Kagino, an ordinary-looking student who gave her many memories. Walking a while, Nishino senses she's being followed, readying her weapon. Thinking it's just her imagination, she suddenly encounters a soldier from before. His accomplice appears too, using electric pliers and knocking her out just like the first episode, when Nishino wakes. Meanwhile, modern-day Japan lay in ruins. Nishino, now a 20-year-old woman still clinging to her school uniform, carried old habits she couldn't explain. The world had darkened beyond recognition. Tonight, Nishino decided to leave her home to act alone. Though time had passed, the bright moon always reminded her of Shit Kagino, a seemingly ordinary student who had gifted her countless memories. Walking a short distance, Nishino sensed she was being followed. Readying her weapon, she thought it was a hallucination, until the soldier from before appeared. His accomplice soon joined, using a stun gun to knock her out just like the first episode. When Nishino woke, she found herself trapped in a dim warehouse. The villains had been hired to kidnap her. The soldier seemed obsessed with Shit, his mind unraveling. Every time the moon shone, visions of Shit drove him mad. But, unexpectedly, Shit shattered the warehouse roof, appearing like a god. The soldier lost his mind upon facing the demon slayer from the old days. Yet Shit needed no magic. He charged forward, landing punches that left the soldier dazed. But this